Ready to move up? He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, We were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth? You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not him. There is only one more. There is only one more. That's it. One more. Get arrest! No!
They saw your team put up zero effort.
Wake up!
Remember in the old days they used to have oxygen for them. Where's the oxygen?
Play like absolute just garbage.
This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Yay!
Man, can you keep it down? I'm trying to introduce here. With Errol Marks, Speedy Petey, and Tyler Harrison.
You're not even a has-been. You're a never was. You're a never was. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we are the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Speedy Petey. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. You can call us at 631-672-3108. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app by going iOS. WWSRN Android Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We have a great show lined up for you, and I just want to give a shout out to Tyler Harrison as today we have decided to part ways with Tyler. Tyler is going to be no longer with the Sports Loudmouths. It'll just be me and Speedy moving forward. We will have special guests every week, not just the guests that we have on the show, but we'll invite special guests to join us and be a part of our show moving forward. Tyler has had a lot of stuff going on in his life, and we just all of us, decided to part ways. I just want to give a shout out to Tyler Harrison. Good luck for whatever he plans to do moving forward. He's a good guy. Nothing against him, but the show must go on, and we just can't obviously wait for him. And whenever he decides to come in and decide to show up, so Tyler will no longer be with the show. Anyways, at 10 o'clock, we'll be talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy. She'll be joining us. And at 11 o'clock, we'll be talking to the Leader News editor and writer for Pack to the Future, whatever that is, and Packers Talk, which we had him on our show a couple of months ago. Ralph Mancini, really, really good Packers guy, knows everything about the Packers. So he will be joining us. He writes for the Packers, so it'll be fun. Me and him went back and forth with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers about a year ago. So Mr. Mancini will be joining us a little bit later in the show. We're going to get into a lot of the basketball thing because what did
Carl
Nathan say?
Carl says, did Errol slip in that Tyler got the boot? And then Nathan says, should I join the show today or next week?
Nathan, you could come on a little bit later. After Katie, you can come on. But listen, I'm just telling everybody what happened to Tyler. You're going to probably be wondering, obviously our drop is no longer going to have Tyler's name on it, probably by the end of this week. I'm just being honest with what you guys see. You guys are going to ask me in about a week or 2 weeks, where's Tyler? I'm letting you guys know that there will not be any more Tyler on this show. Tyler has decided to move forward with whatever he plans to do. I'm very supportive. I just, he just wasn't dedicated to the show. And like I said, the show must go on. We've got other things going on, and we have to move on without Tyler, which I have no problems doing because I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a fun show moving forward no matter what. By the way, did anybody see the new Kraken jersey I got, man? It is beautiful. This is a beautiful jersey. Check it out. I picked it up. I am not a Kraken's fan, but it is such a beautiful jersey. I had to cop myself one, so it is beautiful. It has my name on the back of it. Maybe when we come back from break, I'll show you guys. But it is a beautiful jersey. If you are a sports fan, I don't buy other teams' jerseys, but for some reason, I don't like the name, okay? I'm just informing you guys, I do not like the Kraken name. It should have been the Kraken. It should have been called the Seattle Grunge. But I still like the jerseys. The colors are beautiful. It really is.
So you could add that to the collection with your pink and blue Miami Heat one.
That's right. I have a pink and blue Miami Heat. Yes. Shout out to the great Carl, a.k.a. Falk. We call him Chi-Town, USA. But, it's going to be fun. This show will be very, very fun moving forward. So definitely stay tuned. So we didn't really get into any basketball yesterday. And there's so much to get into, especially after the All-Star break. LeBron James speaks out and pretty much said that he wants to retire after he plays 1 year with his son. His son is a senior right now in high school. He'll either play in the G League. He is obviously being recruited by some of the best colleges in the country. I have heard that he is very interested in going to play for Duke. Obviously, everybody knows I'm a Duke fan.
But no more Coach K.
So. No more Coach K. So,
Carl, it'll be up to your boy, John Shire.
Yes. I'm not a big fan of John Shire, by the way.
Oh, we know.
But I do believe that LeBron's son will play college basketball for 1 year, and then he'll probably put himself into the NBA draft. I don't know where he's going to be picked as. I don't know if he's a top recruit. If he is, he's not a top 5 recruit.
No, he's definitely not a top 5 recruit.
But he'll be somewhere in the top 10, top 15, wherever he gets drafted. And wherever he gets drafted, and that's why teams will be interested in him, because it's a 2-man package. If you get Bronny, you'll probably get LeBron.
Yeah.
So
also talk about the biggest beneficiary of these new NIL rules. You don't see how many endorsements he's going to get in college too.
Oh, he's going to get huge endorsements. But it'll be very, very interesting to see where Bronny is going to decide where he's going after this high school.
Carl says maybe Michigan has a punter's chance on Bronny.
Probably.
Get it? Punter's chance, Carl. I see where you're going with that one. Good job.
Well, again, we don't know where Bronny's going to go, and we'll probably not hear. If I was Bronny, I'd go play 1 year of the G League, make about $500-600. He doesn't really need the money. His father's rich as hell, but again, he wants to make his own money, so why not?
I don't know. Those NIL endorsements might be very good.
So it'll be very interesting to see where Bronny goes, but it's so interesting right now with the NBA because obviously there's I would say about 28, 27 games left for most teams in the National Basketball Association. And you wonder, moving forward, obviously Kyrie Irving speaks out that he wants to play home games. There are stories coming out here from New York that they might take the mandate off. If they do, Kyrie Irving will return playing in Brooklyn, but I don't know when that's going to happen or if it will happen. But the interesting story is, when is Ben Simmons going to step on the court? That's the interesting story. Ben Simmons was traded over a week ago. There are stories coming out that he might not be ready for at least another 2 to 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, Kevin Durant, by the time he comes back, Kevin Durant will be back. Kyrie Irving might be playing home games. You might have your Fab 3 before you know it. I don't understand this whole Ben Simmons. I understand he's out of shape. He looks in pretty good shape to me. Is he in basketball shape? Why isn't he? He's making $30-something million a year, and he was getting paid full money by the 76ers. Why was he, while he wasn't playing basketball, not practicing? Why wasn't he running up and down the court? Why wasn't he playing pickup games against semi-pro basketball players
or NFL players that are practicing off basketball games like Myles Garrett and Tyreek Hill?
Well, let's not get into that. But I mean, seriously, when you look at the big picture and you look at where these teams are and where these players are going, you would expect that Ben Simmons would have been in shape. He's making $190 million. He's getting paid a ton of money. And you're hearing the stories that he's not ready to play basketball. He's not in basketball fit shape. Does that make any sense to you? I mean, seriously. And you talk, Michael Jordan was at the All-Star game. You see all these great old NBA players, the Isaiah Thomases of the world, the Akeem Olajuwons of the world, all these other players that you've seen, they all were there at the All-Star game. Michael Jordan is still practicing. He's still playing basketball. He's playing one-on-one with the players on his team. He's in basketball shape. How the hell is Ben Simmons not in basketball shape?
How many people are in the Ice Cube League, too, that are retired players, too? There must be hundreds of that.
Does that make any freaking sense? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I was making, I don't know, $500,000 right now, I'm going to be on the basketball court practicing after practicing after practicing, shooting 300 foul shots, 300 three-pointers. But by the way, Ben Simmons couldn't hit a lick if you asked him to.
I don't know if he's had 300 free throws in his career either.
I mean, seriously, how does a guy that's making $190 million only hit 20 three-pointers in his whole career? 20 three-pointers in his whole goddamn career. I mean, think of it. And you go back and you talk about the structure of the Brooklyn Nets and where the Brooklyn Nets are. I mean, we all know who their superstars are. We all know that Kevin Durant is their number one priority. They want to get him on the court before the playoffs. They might not even be ready. And by the way, they might not even make the playoffs the way this team is going. They're right now, if the season were to end, I think they're the 8th seed.
Mm-hmm.
And by, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, if Kevin Durant don't come back and Ben Simmons, and you're going to depend on Kyrie Irving. And by the way, I don't want to hear about Andre Drummond and Seth Curry, that these 3 players are going to carry this team all the way to the playoffs, because this team is not good enough right now without Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons to make the playoffs. They could absolutely fall out of a playoff spot with the blink of an eye. One bad week. Remember, they were at an 8-game losing streak. They could lose their next 3 to 4 games, and the teams behind them could win 3 or 4 games, and they fall out of the top 11, top 10 teams making the playoffs, and they don't make the playoffs. Now, I do believe they're going to skim, and they'll make the playoffs, but they have to play in a playing game. If they lose that one playing game, they're eliminated.
I also like the chances if they could get hot for Atlanta, just because of the experience too of beating the Nets if they were to play. And Toronto's a tough defensive team too, so it's not going to be easy even in the play-ins. I think they'll make it too, but still, no guarantees. Nathan says, "Do you think the Celtics can be dangerous in the playoffs?"
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
I do.
I don't like their offensive or lack of offensive depth this year, and you need that in the playoffs. Carl says, "Can the Bulls keep it up? They have so far major injuries to the number one Ball, Caruso, and their number one pick, Patrick Williams." And as Speedy and I agreed on when the deal went down, DeMar DeRozan is amazing fit. Yeah, he's turning into an MVP candidate as we speak.
Yes,
DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan's been fantastic. And I know the Knicks could have picked him up, but they decided
So could the Lakers.
So could have the Lakers, but DeMar DeRozan's not a good playoff player. We all know what DeMar DeRozan does in the playoffs. I would not bet anything that DeMar DeRozan is going to go into the playoffs and is going to play fantastic basketball. We saw what Julius Randle did in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, seriously, there are some players that are very good regular season players, and then when they get into the playoffs, when the pressure is on, they just don't play well. And we've seen him on Toronto. We've seen him on the Spurs. He just wasn't a good playoff player. He's a fantastic talent. He really is. DeMar DeRozan can play two-way basketball. You can play the ball through him. Really fantastic. And they have Levine. I mean, this is a good team. This is a very good team, the Bulls. And right now, if the season were, I think they're the number 1 seed.
They're
right?
the number 2 seed. They're tied for first right now with Miami. Miami must have some tiebreaker that puts them 1 at the moment.
I believe the Bulls, by the end of the season, will be the number 1 seed. And they've been fantastic. I think the acquisitions that they made, the coach that they brought in, this team is built to win right now. Now, are they ready fully to win when you have the 76ers that have been there before, the Milwaukee Bucks that have been there before, even the Brooklyn Nets, they've been there before. I think that if all these teams squeak in, and if you're a playing game, aka the Brooklyn Nets, I think there's a very, very good chance when you look at the big picture that, hey, the Brooklyn Nets could be a dangerous team moving forward if they get out of the playing game. But it's so interesting right now with the whole Zion Williamson thing too. Zion Williamson could be out for the rest of the season. He might need foot surgery again. And I know everybody keeps sitting here and saying, why do you want the Knicks to pick him up? I'll tell you why. I think it makes a lot of sense for the New York Knicks to possibly end the offseason to make a move for him. You ready to hear this? Speedy, you ready to hear this?
Go for it.
Right now, Julius Randle is making $116 million. Okay. Kemba Walker right now is making about 10 or 11. The Knicks have control of him for another year. They also have picks. Zion Williamson right now does not want to play for the Pelicans. He does not want to be there. And think of it in the big picture here. If the Knicks made a trade for Zion Williamson, they would have to trade Julius Randle, probably Kemba Walker, and maybe two first-round draft picks. You're not going to have to give up more than 2 first-round draft picks because the guy can't stay healthy. The Knicks could get a superstar for Julius Randle, Kemba Walker, and 2 first-round draft picks. What might not play next year either. Might be another year. He's still only 23 years old. He comes back when he's 24, 25. You don't extend him, or you give him a year-to-year contract to see what he can do. And then you have him with RJ Barrett. You bring back Cam Reddish. You have the pretty much the Duke Blue Devils and the Kentucky Wildcats on one team. And I really think with the youth that they have right now, you can build something with Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish. I mean, this would be a good team. Now, I don't know what Zion Williamson is going to be when he comes back from that foot surgery. And if I was him, after he gets the foot surgery, I think he should go on a diet. I think he should lose at least 20 pounds. And quite possibly could do that because he wants to prove to teams that he's capable of being traded for, where he would be worth every bit of whatever they trade for him. But right now, obviously, where the New York Knicks are, there is no superstar player that's going to become a free agent that's going to want to come and play for the Knicks. There's only quite a few players that would probably, if they become available, want to go and play for the Knicks. I do think Anthony Davis in the offseason this year, if Anthony Davis can't stay healthy for the Lakers, but there were 3 or 4 teams that he was interested in going to before he was traded to the Lakers. And one of those teams were the Knicks. He wants to go to a big marketplace. Obviously, it's not working right now with Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook. It's not working there. And you're not going to probably, even though Russell Westbrook is a free agent in the offseason, where he's probably going to go elsewhere, he's going to go to another veteran team, maybe goes to the Knicks on a very small contract. I don't know where he's going to go, but he's not going to make a lot of money. Anthony Davis is still fairly young. He's making a lot of money, and going to the Knicks could change everything as far as superstardom. Now, Anthony Davis is from the Bulls. I mean, he is from Chicago. He grew up a Bulls fan. Remember in high school, he was a point guard. He grew like 5-6 inches, became a big man. Obviously was recruited heavily by the University of Kentucky, and obviously was brought in by Calipari, won a national championship with him. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense that maybe he goes to the Bulls, but what is the Bulls going to trade? Right now, they're ready to win now. Who are they going to trade? Who do you want them to trade? You're willing to watch them trade DeRozan right now? DeRozan's a better player right now than Anthony Davis.
And more healthy.
And LaVine, I'm sorry, I'm not trading LaVine for anything right now. I am not trading that kid for anything. He's become a superstar in this league. He could shoot. He could jam. He could play defense. He could play, he could defend multiple positions. I mean, and he's a fantastic player. So you can't trade any of their top players. Lonzo Ball, that's not going to do enough.
No.
And by the way, I don't think the Lakers want Lonzo Ball back.
No.
Okay. All right.
So
So
you get LeVar Ball back too.
I don't think that's going to happen. So, I mean, logically here, where you look at both teams and understand both teams, I think it makes a lot of sense where in the offseason, if the Knicks really want to make a move for Anthony Davis, they want to make a move for a superstar to come over here and play with this team, because they're not winning with the players they have right now. They have a bunch of young players, fine, but you need that player that's going to draw free agents to come and play with that particular player. Is there a lot of free agents, or when free agents become available, you'd be interested to play with a guy like Anthony Davis? Absolutely. Absolutely. But right now, the Knicks don't have any name players that, I want to go play with RJ Barrett. I want to go play with Cam Reddish. I don't even know if he'll be there next year. I want to go play with Grimes, Quigley, Obi Toppin. I mean, this is a young team. This is a team that's got to figure themselves out. And I just don't know if this team is capable of getting that superstar that's going to want to come and play here and to draw other free agents to come and play with him.
Now, going back to the Zion Zion signing potential for the Knicks, that's why I actually like the Zion approach too, to take that kind of chance. You're not going to have to, like you're saying, you're not have to trade much.
No.
And maybe if his stock falls even more with the injuries, it might even be like a first round pick and maybe like a very distant other second first round pick. Like they don't even have to do it in close proximity too.
You're going to have to give up a contract too.
Right. So you do Randall, and then you try to maybe do another veteran. You were saying Kemba. Yeah.
Kemba.
Yeah. There's definitely other options that you could look at with the veterans that they signed this offseason.
Because you got to match that contract.
Because the other thing I like about it too is he has the name recognition if he does end up peaking to his ability, where down the road, a superstar, if Zion performs like he was drafted to be and stays healthy, maybe there is a superstar out there, a young superstar that would want to come there. Also, you're not going to have to give him a max contract because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So you might get a bargain if he does end up coming in from a financial standpoint.
And the Pelicans are going to probably have to add a player because it has to match. It really doesn't. The Knicks are probably going to have to take another bad contract because the Pelicans taking Julius Randle and Kemba Walker. Remember, you're looking at right now, Williamson, he's still on his rookie contract. So he is making like 10 or 9 million a year. So that can match up with Kemba. So you can get rid of Kemba's contract for 1 year. But to trade Julius Randle away, you're going to have to take another big
Unless you
contract.
get a third team involved.
Yeah, but I don't think a third team would make sense for right now. And to bring a third team, you're going to have to give up more picks. And I don't want to see the Knicks give away their future. So Zion Williamson makes a lot of sense to the Knicks. He does want to go there. He's been always wanting to go there since he came into the league. He wanted to go to the New York market because it's a big market and it's a good chance for him to really prove himself on center stage in Madison Square Garden. But again, when you look at the big picture, you look at where the NBA is going, and listen, there are a lot of good teams that really have stood out, really shown their faces. And I know everybody sits here and they say, well, the NBA, you just don't know what, year in and year out. You know the good teams. You know the Lakers. Usually the Lakers are the top team. The last couple of years, Miami. Chicago's been a surprise this year. Cleveland's been a surprise this year. Obviously, Boston's usually a good team, with obviously a new coach. Phoenix has been good for the last couple of years. Golden State, Memphis has been a surprise this year. Utah, obviously. And by the way, Donovan Mitchell has come out and said that he would want to go and play for the Knicks. That's another. Could you imagine in the offseason bringing in Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Davis to come and play for the Knicks? I mean, that would be a fantastic move for the Knicks. That puts them right center stage in obviously one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. But I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to be able to afford that unless they obviously trade. And Julius Randle, maybe you bring in Williamson and Donovan Mitchell. Maybe that makes sense. And put him with RJ Barrett and some of the young players that they have. But again, you're going to have to give away pieces. And the Knicks are trying to build around these youth and young players. And I think the Knicks need to lose as many games and hope for the best when it comes to obviously the lottery, which they never win. But honestly, you're looking at the big picture. Usually with the NBA, you know who's going to make the playoffs. You know who the dangerous teams are. You know who the real weak teams are. So realistically, I look at the NBA. It's been a very big surprise this year with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Chicago Bulls in the Eastern Conference. In the Western Conference, the Grizzlies have been very surprising too with John Morant. So I mean, you'll have your surprise teams, and are they dangerous enough to surprise people in the playoffs? I don't know.
I like Memphis though, because they got a lot of depth though too. They could be very similar. I don't know as good as the Suns, but very similar with the way they were winning.
There is an article on Pro Sports Daily about Zion Williamson, and they're trying to match off Atlanta, because Atlanta would be a good destination for a guy like Zion Williamson to go play with Trae Young. I'm looking at some of the teams that could be. Indiana is another team that could be a good fit because of all the pieces and all the youth and the young players that maybe the Pelicans want.
Yeah, you swap Miles Turner and maybe another young player or something like that. That should get the job done, I would imagine.
I mean, there are other teams that will be interested in Zion Williamson and maybe take a chance with Zion Williamson. But I think he really, destination-wise wants to go to a bigger market where he has a chance to win.
Because both those teams, too, the Hawks and the Pacers, have
a chance to play and be a superstar there. I'm sorry, not to win.
Yeah.
He's not going to win with the Knicks.
No. But the Hawks and the Pacers have something that a lot of these other teams that might be vying for him have, and that's not a lot of the big contracts yet. The Hawks paid Trae Young. That's their one big one. And Indiana, I don't think really has that kind of thing right now because they just traded the big one with Sabonis, and Halliburton and Hield are on affordable deals. And for that, they can make that kind of thing work. And both of them have good young depth. Atlanta trades Collins and maybe DeAndre Hunter or something like that. And then Indiana could trade even one of the guards that they got from the Kings. They could trade. They could trade so many different things. TJ Warren, when he comes back, they got a lot, and Turner should be the centerpiece of that deal. So they have all these kinds of options they could do as well. Carl says Zion reminds me of Sean Kemp in his Cavs days.
Probably.
And Cavs guards injuries really hurt them. If LeVert can be
he's
healthy.
better than Sean Kemp. He's better than Sean Kemp, especially when he played with the Supersonics. I would believe so. I mean, look at the talent that he is. And when he has played, I mean, he's averaging 25 points. He's averaging almost 10 rebounds and like 5 assists. I mean, he's been fantastic. Zion Williamson, when he does play, he's very hard to say that he's not a good player on the court. He's a fantastic player, very good talent.
Carl also says Cavs guards injuries really hurt them. If LeVert can be healthy, he helps, but he struggles to stay healthy. Yeah, that'll be the big key because we know the Cavs have the size because Mobley has been rookie of the year so far. Jared Allen's been very good, and interior, they got a lot of it. And also a Bickerstaff system defensively has really helped them rebound well. So the guard play is going to be the wild card of it because a lot of it is young all at once. Darius Garland's been better this year. Colin Sexton's still kind of up and down, and so is the kid Okoro they drafted a couple of years ago. So, yeah, there's a lot of question marks still with that. And LeVert, I think, ends up being the best one ultimately when he is healthy, but is not a pure point guard either. So could they have Garland or Sexton take over that kind of role come playoff time too, will be another question, especially against what is probably going to be a tough defensive team wherever they end up, either whether it's Milwaukee, even a team like Toronto, Boston. They're all good defensive teams. Milwaukee is really the only big name offensive team of that group, but defensively, we'll see where the Cavs will be able to hang with that. Yeah. Oh, my bad, Carl. Sexton is out for the year. I thought he was coming back late in the season.
No, he's out for the year.
Okay. Suck says Zion is a good player, but apparently a lousy teammate. I was not hearing that though. I know people are saying that he's the out of shape thing, the weight. Him being lazy and like being isolated a lot of the time, but I don't think he's like that in comparison. We were just mentioning Ben Simmons earlier. I don't think he's really like that.
His family doesn't want him there. Okay. Yeah. His family doesn't want him in New Orleans. His family wants him in a big city. He is from Florida. Maybe he goes down. Maybe Miami finds a way to trade for him. I mean, he'd feel very well at home over there. Maybe Orlando. Orlando has a ton of picks and a ton of young players and young talent. I mean, I don't know why he would want to go to Orlando, obviously. I mean, they're a horrible team, but I mean, he wants to go to a big city. Maybe Miami makes a lot of sense. Pat Riley maybe will pull the trigger for a guy like Zion Williamson. Is he willing to wait a year for Zion Williamson? Because I don't know if he's playing next year early in the season. It might take him another, half a year to recuperate from a foot surgery of this magnitude. And I do believe that if he goes to the Knicks or he goes to Chicago, he's going to have to lose weight. There's no way the New York Knicks with Tom Thibodeau is going to bring in a Zion Williamson weighing 290 pounds.
There's no way Miami's going to tolerate that either. You don't think Pat Riley's going to go up to Zion and say you have to lose 25 pounds?
Absolutely not. Right. So I think Zion Williamson, I think, will be traded from the Pelicans. If it's not this offseason, sometime next season before the trade deadline, he will be traded. I think his rookie contract's up after next year. So they're going to have to move him because if they don't, he's not going to re-sign that rookie contract and they're going to lose him anyways. So I think he'll make more money signing that rookie contract, but what does he care? He's made a ton of money right now in endorsements. You think a guy like Zion Williamson cares if he loses a couple of $1 million every single year when he's making crazy amount of endorsement money with his sneaker deals and everything? I don't know if he would.
Carl says Zion hasn't reached out to McCollum, so the story was written that he isn't a quality teammate. JJ Redick spoke on it on ESPN. McCollum also did say, though, too, that Zion's a good guy. He wasn't taking shots at him. So, Snook says Zion to the Kings.
McCollum, CJ McCollum?
Yeah. When they traded for him, apparently Zion didn't contact him.
They brought CJ McCollum in because they know what they're doing with Zion Williamson. This is going to be CJ McCollum's team. It's not Zion Williams' team anymore. I think Zion knows that, okay? And I think Zion wants to go somewhere where he can really produce a little bit more and be that superstar, that center stage piece where that team could build. Now, obviously, he wants to play in New York. I don't know if the Knicks have enough pieces to get him. I don't know what the Pelicans are going to be offering to or want to be offered to get him. So, obviously, coming off another foot surgery could be career-ending. So is the team going to take a chance? We all know about Grant Hill. Grant Hill was never the same player when he hurt his ankle. Never the same player. Came from the same Duke Blue Devils team, if you remember. Remember when the first 5 years of Grant Hill's career, he was being compared to Michael Jordan. That's how good he was. They were calling him Baby Jordan. And then he hurt his ankle in a game. If you guys remember, he was never the same, ever. And that's what happens with one injury that keeps coming and coming and coming. You're never the same. Look at Amari Stoudemire.
Right.
Amari Stoudemire was one of the best power forwards in the league. People forget how great he was with Phoenix. He hurt his knee. He had that knee surgery. He played for the Knicks. He played at the top of the game for 1 year with the Knicks. And those 3 years that the Knicks, then the rest of the contract the Knicks signed him for 4, he was horrible. And the Knicks knew he was going to be horrible after that first year because everybody knew, including their doctors, told the Knicks that he was not going to last those 4 years. But the Knicks took the chance. You know why? They needed a superstar to get another superstar to come and play with them, a.k.a. Carmelo Anthony.
Well, remember that offseason, too, was also the fallout of the big three with Miami, too. And the Knicks were rumored to get either one of them at certain points in time. When it wasn't LeBron, before they said LeBron, he was out on the sweepstakes with the Knicks, then they were in the rumors for Dwayne Wade. Then all of a sudden they collectively went together.
Dwayne was never coming to the Knicks.
But no, the media was hyping it up, though.
I
didn't believe it either.
And LeBron was never coming to the Knicks either. I don't know why anybody thought that was going to happen. Now, if Bronny goes to the Knicks, he gets drafted by the Knicks, expect LeBron James to go to the Knicks. I mean, he already said that he wants to play at least 1 year with his son when he gets drafted. And again, teams are going to look in the big picture here. Even though you don't think Bronny's a top 5 talent, teams will look at Bronny to bring him in because if you get Bronny, you get LeBron. And LeBron will still be a guy that's going to give you 25, 7, and 7. Is going to give you somewhere around those numbers, and he's going to give you a chance to win, and he gets a chance to play with his son. So don't be surprised if Bronny is a top 5 pick, even though he's not a top 5 talent going into the NBA draft.
Right. The 3-year gap is going to make a difference, too, on what team situations are going to look like as well, because NBA players move around all the time. So.
By then, the Knicks is still going to stink. Okay,
probably, but still, it's crazy. The swaps are crazy with the players and also the depth and stuff like that. Now, big market teams are still going to be big market teams to an extent, but still, you're going to have fallouts of whatever is going to happen with the Nets. You're going to have fallouts of whatever is going to happen with the Lakers because LeBron only has 2 years left on his contract too. So they're going to have to make a decision on him. And if he wants to go with his son, maybe those are the last 2 years, and maybe last year will be his next year. Last year with the Lakers.
The team that's laughing to the bank right now is Indiana. Indiana made that great trade. They brought Alberton in. I mean, they have a bunch of players that they could trade off as centerpieces to a trade in the offseason. They're probably going to be a top 6, top 77 lottery choice wherever the balls fall. They could be the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick. With all the young talent that they have on the team, they could have the number 1 pick in this year's draft and really put themselves center stage. And they have a great coach in Rick Carlisle. And Donnie Walsh is still a part of that organization helping to run that team. I mean, Indiana could possibly be the number 1, number 2 seed next year with all the moves that they can make in the offseason. It's unbelievable. And Indiana right now is 20-40. They're 5 games under the New York Knicks with the talent that they have. And let's be honest, whose roster would you rather right now? The Knicks or the Indiana Pacers? I'm sorry, I'm a Knicks fan. I want the Indiana Pacers roster.
Yeah.
It's not even an argument.
No, Snug. He's probably not going to the Sacramento Kings.
No.
Nice try.
No,
yeah. Maybe you should have kept Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield. Maybe you had a shot then, but still, they've been the epitome of mediocrity. And they don't even have the upside that even some of these other Western Conference teams have too. The Pelicans have young talent. The OKC Thunder. Think about all the draft picks they have too. And the kids
they have a ridiculous amount of picks.
Even the kid Giddey they drafted this year is playing very well too as a young point guard. So even they have something.
It'll be another trade piece where they could get 2 first-round draft picks for them.
Yeah. So there's plenty of other teams over the Sacramento Kings. So nice try.
I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, OKC really positioned themselves to be a good team for many, many years. And this year's draft, I mean, it's not crazy good. I mean, you have like 6, 7 really talented players, and then maybe you'll find a needle in a haystack later in the first round, early second round, that could be a star, but you never know. It's usually the first 5, 6 picks. And this year, it's, again, a top-heavy draft where, you know, if you're drafting in a top 6, top 7, you're going to get yourself a good player. And to me, when you look at all these teams, and the Knicks right now, they're a terrible team. But if the season were to end right now, you have Houston has a worse record than them. OKC has a worse record than them. Sacramento, the Pelicans, the San Antonio Spurs, the Orlando Magic, the Detroit Pistons, Indiana Pacers, and I guess you could say them and Portland have the same record. So, I mean, right now, if the season were to end, the Knicks would be 1, 2, 3, 4,
11.
5. They'd be 6, 7, 8. They'd be 9. They're the 9th worst team in the league. If you look at the numbers, they're the 9th worst team. So they'd be drafting, who knows, wherever the picks go and wherever the picks fall. The Knicks would be obviously probably picking if they're lucky, 6, 7. You know what I mean? I don't expect them to fall for if they're right now. They're the 9th worst team in the league. I don't see the Knicks. I could see the Knicks falling out of the top 10. I mean,
that would be a classic lottery luck.
I don't know where, and you only hope that somehow they get lucky and their ball doesn't get pulled at number 9, and maybe they fall a little bit in like 4 or 5 spots, and they get a 4th pick or the 5th pick, where they would be a good position for them to be. But I mean, RJ Barrett is really taking two steps back. He really hasn't been. I mean, there were parts of this year that he really stood out. I think Julius Randle has really hurt his growth and a lot of these young players' growth. Obi Toppin, I think he could be a sensational player, but we'll never know because we never get a chance to see him.
Yeah, he only plays the second quarter for some bizarre reason. And he's always a plus on the court, and usually by double digits, too.
And Tom Thibodeau, I think, will be on his way out because it looks like management don't want him there. He won, obviously, Coach of the Year last year. He was friggin' sensational. This team was playing great team defense, and all of a sudden, this team falling apart. And who told me this? And Carl said, don't be surprised if this happens. And Carl Falk, he said it. He said that Tom Thibodeau is a great coach, but what he hurts with teams is he wears out these mid-range older players, and they're never the same players as the years go by. So Carl did say that Tom Thibodeau will not be there as the Knicks head coach that long. And right now, I mean, there's a guy I keep telling everybody that the Knicks should reach out to. I'll say it again. Speedy, you go ahead.
Kenny Atkinson,
Mr. Chucky. I think he actually was an assistant coach with the Knicks. He helped Linsanity. I mean, Jeremy Lin wasn't the same player. He wasn't the player that he was without obviously Atkinson. So I think Atkinson would be a great fit with the Knicks. I really do. And he can help the younger players develop. And you know what Kenny Atkinson's going to do? He's going to want to keep the younger players and get rid of the veteran players. He's going to want to really work and really build around the youth of this team. And Grimes, in certain games this year, Grimes has looked like a really good player. I mean, really could turn out to be an Allen Houston type of player.
Yeah, they've all had their stretches, the young players. They just can't, they never get a chance to do it consistently.
Yeah, they don't get enough time on the court. We don't know what they are. He could, who reminds me? Grimes reminds me of a Booker. That's where
I can see that, like a little bit below, but like I can see that kind of thing because he had a similar skill set out of college. It actually looked better in college because he got the playing time over Booker because Booker came off the bench for Kentucky, that team that year. So I could see that kind of thing too. Probably a little behind, but not far off either at his peak.
The fact is right now, and by the way, maybe the Knicks should sign Don Mattingly to their skipper. I mean,
if you get the Marlins version, maybe. If you get the Dodgers version, hell no.
I mean, right now, where a lot of these teams are, and these younger, mid-range, growing teams, Indiana, out of all the teams, is set up very, very well. Jalen, obviously, Jalen, the guy in Houston. I'm sorry. Jalen Green, who was in the slam dunk contest, who played in the G League. He looks like he's going to be a good player, but Houston is the worst team in the NBA right now, or the 3rd worst team in the NBA right now. They're gonna be drafting in the top 3, top 4 for the next couple of years. But to have a piece like Jalen Green that you can build around, I mean, you get 2 or 3 of those type of players. Watch out. I mean, it's a huge problem with the Knicks. The Knicks get the number 3 pick with RJ Barrett. A couple of years before that, they got Kristaps Porzingis. He ran himself out of there. And now, who knows? RJ Barrett might run himself out of New York too. So the Knicks can never hold on to players, and that's the problem with the New York Knicks. So as far as the other things that we've heard, what are the other rumors that we're hearing for basketball?
Before we get to that, I just want to read the last 3 snug comments. Snug says the Sacramento way is to develop talent and then trade it off to be successful. Yeah, but where's the successful part? They haven't made the playoffs since 2001 or whatever. LOL, and they got lucky to get Ewing in '85. Yeah, that was the last time, Snug. That's what we're getting at. And then Tibbs must be a pain to work with.
By the way, that was set up by the league to get Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing wanted to play for the Knicks. The Knicks wanted that. Patrick Ewing was that absolute superstar that everybody knows, and David Stern made sure that the Knicks got Patrick Ewing. And the Knicks haven't gotten lucky like that ever again. I mean, the Knicks weren't even supposed to be a top 5. They shouldn't have even been in the top 5, and that was the first year of the lottery, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I think it was the first year of the lottery, and they won the lottery. So, and they haven't won the lottery since then. So look at that.
So
Figure
the other,
that out.
yeah,
30
so,
some odd years later.
yeah. So the other Knicks related thing was
40 some
was
years.
Kemba Walker. Now he's going to be sitting out for the rest of the season. It was a mutual decision by both parties. Are they going to trade him? Are they going to cut him? Kemba says they don't want to. They don't think they're going to buy him out, from what they're hearing.
No, they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to get for him, but he'll be an addition to a trade if they want to trade Julius Randle. Like I said, you put him and Kemba Walker and a couple of picks for Zion Williamson or Anthony Davis or something like that, going to Lakers or something like that.
Yeah, because that kind of thing.
Or
Like
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, because that kind of thing with the money makes sense in terms of swapping the contracts, where you might not even have to get a third team involved, too, where you might not have to sell off extra draft picks for another team to take that kind of thing on, too. If it is, let's say Donovan Mitchell, for example, because
who wants out of Utah. He's been really clear to say that he wants out and he wants to play in New York. He grew up a Mets fan. He's been trying to promote the Mets and try to bring more free agents to come for the Mets. He's from this area.
Utah's favorite baseball team.
Yeah, he's from this area. He grew up a Knicks fan. He always, and the Knicks were really stupid when they had a chance to draft him. They really had a chance. That really could have solidified this team. There were so many times where the Knicks were like one player or two players away from getting a superstar that could have helped this team grow, and they just were wrong with the picks that they had. So
yeah. Now the reason I say Utah though also is they don't have these other big contracts on their team. Gobert has a big contract, but even his is not a super max. And then the rest of their team are all role players. They just traded Ingles. I forget where. They just traded Ingles, who had the next biggest contract on the team. Conley's got a big one, but that's rounding out. And I think he took a pay cut a little bit this year anyway. So Utah's another one that if they want to trade Donovan Mitchell and they could still get other quality players, might consider taking on Kemba Walker's contract, because we've seen Utah succeed with good depth too. So if Quinn Snyder wants to look at the Knicks roster, or even if they add a third team involved to take on extra players, the Knicks might say, all right, we'll give you this guy also just to take on Kemba's contract too, and make that kind of thing work.
Yep.
So a smaller market team might have that kind of leeway with that. And Utah, with Donovan Mitchell wanting out and wanting to go to the Knicks, like you were saying, it definitely could work for that kind of scenario with the state of where where the Jazz are in terms of the way they've worked. And look at the Jazz bringing in Conley too. Conley's contract was the highest when he signed it. It was the highest contract in basketball at the time. So it was considered a bad contract. And the Utah Jazz, when they traded for him, amidst all those injuries he had with Memphis, made that kind of thing work. So maybe they're the team that thinks, okay, maybe we can rebirth that kind of thing, especially with Donovan Mitchell not being the ball handler primarily as much anymore either, if he would be there in that scenario.
He's not. He's and that's he's the best player on that team. There's not even a question. Anybody that argues that Donovan Mitchell isn't the best player on the Utah Jazz is an idiot. Okay, he is the best player on that team. But they have Rudy Gobert, who's defensive. He's won 3 defensive players of the year. I mean, they have what's his name again? Conley, who's a great point guard in this league, very underrated. And this team will be dangerous again in the playoffs, but they're not. They're still not good enough to win. They're not beating Phoenix. They're not beating Golden State. I don't even know if they'll beat the Lakers in a 7-game series.
I don't even know if they'll beat Memphis.
Yeah,
Memphis has a lot of depth too.
So I mean, Donovan Mitchell has already spoken his piece. I know Dwayne Wade is now co-owner of that team, so he's going to have a lot of say of where Donovan Mitchell is going to go if they're willing to trade him. And I know he'll try to do anything he possibly can to keep Donovan Mitchell there. But Donovan Mitchell has been really open to say that he wants to, if there's a team he wants to go to, it's surprising to say he wants to go and play for the Knicks.
Yeah, and unfortunately, region still matters, where that kind of thing is going to be hard to get together in Salt Lake City, Utah. Great fan base over there. Yeah. They're passionate, but again, are the players going to want to go there is another question. Now, we've seen that kind of thing with the exception with Giannis, with him resigning with Milwaukee.
Surprising.
But are there enough of those kinds of players that you're going to get that kind of thing to work is going to be a challenge, even though Dwayne Wade's name reputation could help. It's still not going to be a big thing because, again, eventually these players are going to get younger and further away from the generational gap of, I guess, Dwayne Wade being like a relevancy and influence for basketball for them kind of thing too. So how much leverage is it going to have for a 16-year-old kid, especially if they change the not the NIL rules, the one and done rules too, where you have all these high school kids that'll start to come out again. Like
which I believe they will do.
I think they're leaning towards that, maybe in anywhere from next 2 to 5 years or something like that, I could definitely see that kind of thing changing. We'll see how it works with the NIL rules too, in terms of the influence that'll have as well, because I feel like there will be other players, like we were saying with Bronny Jr., they're going to want to take advantage of those kinds of endorsements too, especially if they are a big name.
Well, the endorsements, he's going to make his endorsements when he goes to college basketball for 1 year. So Bronny's going to make enough money. He doesn't need his father's money, but his father's going to be, he's right now crossing $1 billion. He's going to be worth $1 billion. He's producing his movies now. I mean, he's got his own TV show on HBO. I mean, the guy is everywhere. And LeBron James, after his career, he's going to do what Michael Jordan did. He's going to build a product and a brand that is going to make money for years and years and years. He's never going to have to worry about money again. And I don't think Bronny will either. But again, I think Bronny wants to make his own name. He wants to stage his own name where it's not about his father. It's not going to be all about his father. But it's going to be very interesting with the NBA moving forward, even at the end of the season, and where some players are going to go. I do believe you're going to see a lot of maneuvering in the offseason, especially with the Lakers. If the Lakers don't make the playoffs, they're going to have to decide what they're going to do moving forward. I could absolutely see them moving the highest profile player they can move in the offseason. And it's not going to be LeBron James, because they need to keep LeBron James because he puts fannies in the seats. It's Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. He's under contract. I think he's 27, 28 years old. He's still fairly young in the prime of his career. He is a trade chip that they can move and rebuild their old, scrappy Laker team.
The oldest roster in NBA history.
Yeah, so Carmelo Anthony won't be there next year. Russell Westbrook won't be there next year. Dwight Howard won't be there next year.
Rajon Rondo's already gone.
I mean, this team is going to be completely different when we talk about the Lakers next year, going into it. By the way, where's that Evan Perlmutter? We haven't heard from him anymore, Mr. Laker fan. He's talking about, the Lakers are better than the Knicks. Yeah. Right now, the Lakers are a 9th seed, and the Knicks are like a 12th seed.
So
or 11th
now
seed. He's much better.
He sold his fandom in 2018. Was that his
jerk?
Was that his year? 2018.
I don't know when he sold his. I know. Moron.
I just was curious because I know you said you knew him, and Matt and Vinny were.
Yeah, he's a moron.
Okay, so
you heard it.
4 years later. So I'll judge 2018 because I think that's what I remembered the story. So 4 years later, he'll sell his Laker fandom to go somewhere else again.
Why don't he sell his underwear? Okay, because I don't know why anybody would buy his Knick fandom to turn it into a Laker. Who cares? Okay, I could care less what he does. Go sell your underwear. Nobody would buy it for more than a penny. Do you believe that somebody bought his fandom for like $2,000?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, who would waste their time? It was all over the news. It was on ESPN because nobody had anything to talk about because it was the starting of COVID, right? It was the starting.
No, it was before that. It was like 2018 or something like that. It was that summer, but yeah,
whatever.
it was after the NBA season. So it's kind of a dead time where it's only just baseball going on. Snug says Utah's favorite baseball team is the Salt Lake City Bees. If you're ever in Salt Lake City, go to Crown Burger. Their pastrami hamburgers are amazing. Brett Goldstein says we need Josh back. And Snug says, I heard the Lakers were going to win 3 championships in a row.
We should laugh, okay? I mean, everybody needs to come back. Maybe if I wore your underwear on my head again, it would make a lot of sense, okay? It is unbelievable. But I have some segments, we're going to be adding to the show moving forward on the show, and we're going to make bets with some people. And if you lose a bet, we're going to actually do something on the show where you're going to have to throw yourself out there and look like a complete ass, okay? Which we always do anyway. Speedy looks like an ass right now. Look at his, greasy hair. I mean, seriously.
Snug will willingly do it. He just has to come up here.
Well, Snug is a hairy monster. I mean, listen, Snug has lost a lot of bets. He's over the years. All the bets that he has lost, he's actually, I've had guys actually, I think Snug was one of the guys that had to write something on his butt and actually send it to Twitter. Seriously. I mean, with everything that we do here, we like to have fun with the fans, and we get everybody involved. And Snug, who's been a valuable fan for years and years out. By the way, you know why Jeff's not in the feed right now? Jeff's at a midget wrestling match, okay? Just so everybody knows, he's watching a bunch of midgets wrestle. So anybody wants to know where Jeff is tonight, he was going to actually appear on our feed tonight. Now that Tyler is no longer with us, and if everybody knows that, he always thought that Tyler was a racist.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Jeff, Jeff's going to start the parade now.
Listen, And I want to give a shout out to Tyler because this has nothing against him. I think Tyler needs it, time off to figure out what he needs to do with his life. And unfortunately, we can't wait for him. We have to move forward for what we do here. And what we do here is we entertain people, we make people laugh, and we talk sports. And that's what we do. And Tyler looks like he was falling asleep in his chair half the time. And when he wasn't, he was coughing, he was sneezing, and he was putting his thumb up his ass.
And then we bring up Aaron Boone, and then he's back to getting angry.
Oh, that's another thing. We sit here and talk about the Yankees, and we'll get into the whole Yankee thing. Every time we talked about the Yankees, it was throw the Yankees under the bus. Throw them under the bus. Oh, you Yankee fans. Oh, you Yankee fans. You know what, Tyler? And I said this after the show, and this is what makes me laugh about Tyler. This guy is a Yankee fan, but he speaks so highly of the Mets.
He makes the Yankees front office look like the Angels.
I know he makes the Yankees. Come on, the Yankees have made how many consecutive? How many consecutive seasons have they won? Like 31?
It's 1992, yeah.
I mean, seriously, almost more than 30 years of great baseball. The Yankees have never had a losing season. But because the Yankees haven't won a championship since 2009, oh my God, we got to jump off a plank. I mean, seriously, not everybody wins a championship. Baseball is one of the hardest championships to win. The Braves finally won. When was the last time the Braves won?
95.
I mean, seriously. Give me a break.
Yes, Carl. Tyler Grubhub's Harrison signing off. Grubhub hands Harrison signing off.
Well, we called him the Duff, and what was the Duff stand for? What does the Duff stand for?
Drunk, or not drunk, designated ugly fat friend.
That's right. He's a Duff. I mean, I love Tyler, but he was the Duff of the show, but I like I said, good luck to Tyler. I hope everything works, well for him moving forward in whatever his endeavors are. Hopefully he doesn't get drunk because it seemed like every single time he was on the show, he was drunk or doing something to get himself drunk. But
don't worry, at least Jarvis Green was encouraged with the strawberry heady.
And that was all he was talking about. We had Jarvis Green on the show, and Jarvis Green was getting drunk in the back of a taxi. Okay, and he was on our show, and then Tyler's telling everything. He's deciding what new drink Jarvis should drink. I mean, oh, I'm drinking this. Oh, I'm drinking that. I mean, come on. We're talking to an ex-NFL player. Yes, he's having fun. He's a little drunk. But this guy's sitting over here telling him, well, I've been drinking strawberry headings since the afternoon. I mean, like, seriously. Why are you going to sit here?
Hey, Jarvis is a hardworking seafood distributor, so.
Jarvis is awesome, by the way. He was fun. And he's coming out for my birthday, too. I'm going to get Jarvis Green to come out for my birthday. We're going to have Worthy come out for my birthday. We're going to get some ex-NFL players to come out and celebrate my birthday. And Worth, right.
Jarrell Worthy.
Worthy. He actually, his birthday's one day before mine.
Right.
So it'll be fun. We'll celebrate my 40th. He will be, I think he'll be 35.
I think 34.
Yeah, he'd be 30. My favorite number, man. That's hey, look, guys, 34. Yeah, I got it on my neck. Look. 34 right over here. That was my sports number growing up. So I got it on my neck. So 34 is a very big number, by the way. And that was the age my father passed away. So.
This is happy early birthday. Yeah. It's about 2 months from now.
Nathan, it's 2 months. Nathan, you could come out for my birthday. Everybody can come out for my birthday. It is something that you'll never forget. By the way, we had my birthday on a yacht on the Nautica Mile last year.
Yep.
150 people came out, COVID or no COVID. Everybody came out, 2 DJs. Everybody was drunk and wasted. Thank God they didn't jump off the boat. Anyways, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking to ESPN talent producer. Yes, Katie Hennessy. Here on what, Speedy?
The Sports Loudmouths.
Oh, God, don't throw me off the road.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews. Actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779 and leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
Fist bump in the air. That's what I'm talking about. We are the Sports Loudmouths. As you know, I'm your host, Daryl Marks. My co-host, Speedy Petey. The number to call us is 631-672-3108 is the number. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app by going to iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You know what's so funny? For the last couple of days, I have not been able to get on my Instagram. It's been horrible. And then I keep going to my Instagram and they keep telling me to put this code in. It's a lock button. And I'm going all over. I'm reaching out to Instagram, keep sending them things. And they keep telling me, well, do this, do that, do this, do that. All day long before the show for 2.5 hours while Speedy was editing another show, I was sitting there trying to figure it out. I'm telling you right now, the guys and the people at Instagram are a bunch of morons. Anyways, that was my whole rant. As you guys know, we were going to get this very special guest. Nithin was the one that told me a little bit about her. And I said, you know what? Give me her information. I'll let my producer reach out to her. And we are now talking to ESPN talent producer, Katie Hennessy. What's going on, Katie?
Hi, how are you guys?
We are good, man. I mean, look at Speedy. I mean, he never does his hair. You look great. You have a nice little bow in your hair. Speedy,
thank you. My mom made this.
Oh, wow.
It looks beautiful. I think you need to make you tell your mom to make a bow for Speedy. I think you need something to make himself look a little bit more prettier.
That would look weird with the headphones, though.
No, it wouldn't. I think it will look good for you.
The bangs, you can pull it off.
Yeah, a bangs. I'll tell you right now. I lost the bet, so I had to wear his dirty underwear on my head last night.
It was not dirty.
Whatever it was.
I heard you guys mention that, and I was like, I wonder if that's real situation or if that's
Unfortunately, it was.
fabricated.
Unfortunately, it was. I had to do it 3 weeks ago with his girlfriend's underwear.
Yes. Listen, he lost the bet, and he had to. I would have rather worn my girlfriend's underwear than his underwear. Okay, at least it has some kind of smell to it. Speedy he had it in a double bag. Okay, he pulled it out like it was dirty. Okay, I had to put that on my head like a do-rag. But anyways, just enough said on that. By the way, how did you become a talent producer for ESPN?
Thank you guys for having me. You guys are so funny to listen to leading up into this show. I was listening. So thank you guys so much for having me. So process of me becoming a talent producer, I've kind of been all around the map. I started at ESPN when I was 21, doing a night shift. I'm 31 now, so it's been 10 years of my life. I was a baby when I started. Now I feel a little, I know you mentioned the 34 is your favorite number. I feel like I'm like close to that. When you said that, it's, getting there. But thank you. I'll take it. Yeah. So I bounced around. I did the whole internship thing when I was in college. I went to college at Cal State Fullerton and kind of lucked into my first job giving someone from ESPN a tour. And that's just, ended up in a job that I didn't love at ESPN, but worked my way around the company. And here I am talent producing. I was a publicist at Walt Disney Studios before, so worked on the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies, all those movies. So yeah, I've had multiple lives in the industry, I guess.
We are talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy. Now, Katie, explain to the fans what a talent producer really does for ESPN.
Yeah, of course. So at other places, they're called bookers or talent bookers. You might hear that more commonly in late night. I'm sure your producer of your show wears many hats and is also booking. But it basically is, we're like the heartbeat. We're the tastemakers. We're the ones finding the stories and trying to place the talent with the stories that already exist. So Brady's retiring. What's that kind of ripple effect look like guest wise? Who would go good on what show? What show's going to care more about NFL today than perhaps another show by the end of the day? So we're the ones placing talent, meaning celebrities or athletes, onto shows across platforms, because as you guys know, there's so many platforms now. It's not just ESPN you see in a bar, it's shows like this and radio and podcasts and ESPN Plus. It's all over the map now. So you got to kind of know where to plug and play.
So in the industry, have you had any different types of experiences, any favorite types of experiences you had either with ESPN or elsewhere, and any experiences you would want to endeavor, whether it's with ESPN, whether it's with talent, anything else like that?
Yeah. So I think I have a couple interesting stories. I'll tell you guys one that kind of took me back a little bit. My most like starstruck moment. I was at Disney and we were doing a screening of Black Panther for Zoe Saldana, who's Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy, if your listeners are Marvel fans. But she said, hey, can we get a private screening for me and some of my friends in my neighborhood? And we're like, sure. We set it up like a movie theater on the lot, did the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, her neighbors and her friends and her kids, no big deal. In walks Adele, in walks Cameron Diaz, in walks Ashton and Mila. That's the neighborhood. Those are her neighbors. So that for me was kind of like, wow, shit, this is really cool. We're working on a film that all these people want to see, but they don't want to kind of deal with that taking their kids out in public situation and getting kind of bombarded. So that was a cool moment for me, meeting Kobe. That was, so you can see all my Kobe gear. Yeah, may he rest in peace. He was attending a movie premiere and the movie had Oprah in it and Reese Witherspoon.
I remember that movie. Yes.
Yeah, Wrinkle in Time, Ava DuVernay's film. And I remember walking into the theater and he had to post up by the front of the theater and just let people come to him. Like in a room where Oprah is in the room, everybody gravitated towards Kobe. So that was a really cool moment to talk to him. And like, he only wanted to talk about his girls and sports and women in sports. So I was like all ears listening to him. It was really cool to see him in that like not player mode, more the dad husband mode. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. As you guys know, we were talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy. You know, it's so funny because I actually had an opportunity. I did some internships over there at ESPN, and I'm not a big Stephen A. Smith fan. Everybody knows me on this show. I've had my outbursts. I actually 2 years ago on the Stephen A. Smith radio show, I called his show and I called him out on his boxing knowledge. And he has this infatuation with Floyd Mayweather. Okay. I know Floyd. I think he's the greatest boxer of all time. So I asked him a silly question and he couldn't answer the question. So then he attacked my knowledge in boxing. I said, don't attack my knowledge because I know a lot more from Mike Tyson's underwear to what Mike Tyson wore, in the fight, in 1986. Okay. I knew a lot. So I am not a big fan of Stephen A. Smith, but I love some of their shows. I'm very good friends with Don LaGreca. Don LaGreca is one of my mentors. I've known him for a very long time. Michael Kay, another guy that very well respected in the media world. What is it like working with all these great analysts, these broadcasters that have really built their careers from the bottom to the top?
Yeah, you have those waves too, right? At ESPN, like you do have the Stephen A's of the world and the Holly Rose, like people who have been there a while. And I love Stephen A, but I get what you're saying with the boxing knowledge. I couldn't go toe to toe with you on boxing knowledge. I couldn't go toe to toe with him either, but I totally get what you're saying. I think it's good to have those opinions that kind of go at each other. It makes for good content, right?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you gave him great content that day.
I did.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know what? We should actually work together because everybody tells me if Stephen A. was sitting right across the table from me, it would be back and forth, nammering and attacking one another because he thinks he knows more than everybody else. And I have an answer for every single question that he has. So there you go.
There you go. You have an answer. You have the voice for it. You got it all. But yeah, it's cool to be around people who, I've watched grow up, the Doris Burks of the world, people like that. Susie, I just met Susie Colbert at the Super Bowl and I was like, oh my God, and Chris Berman, people like that. But it's also very cool how you can watch some of our Twitter shows and see like Christine Williamson and Scooby and Jason and people like that who are more of our age and kind of doing it a different way, but still creating their own path at ESPN, like carving out their own niche, you know?
Mhm.
So it's very rewarding to see the various levels of people. And you have the Freddie Colemans who have done it forever, but are the nicest human beings in the world, like bringing you in and being like, yeah, you're part of my show. And yeah, I appreciate your opinion. And you're just like, holy shit, you care about what I think? It's crazy. It's kind of weird because I've watched them my whole life, you know?
So in terms of the, I guess, expansion of like just in general with ESPN, since you started working there, we've seen a lot of them with the college football, especially now getting a lot of coverage, college basketball now. You have the ACC and SEC networks that are owned by that, and now hockey all of a sudden too. So what are some of the main differences, both in terms of the sports and also in terms of like the approach that they have that you've seen over there, and some of those people, those newer people you got to meet amidst all that?
Wow, these questions, you guys are good. I definitely think the word approach is correct. What you just said, the way that I would approach booking for my shows for SEC Network is going to be different than ACC, different than a college football countdown to game day, you know, everything's kind of be different. It just depends on what they're looking for too. Like the audiences are all different, right? Like the SEC, you're going to have fans who are in the South who like live and die for football, right? But you're going to have other shows. Like I worked on Spain and Fitz's radio show, and that's a national show. So the tones are going to be different. So I think that that's kind of what you have to mentally prepare for if you want to get into this business. Like you might think it's one thing, but there's all these different varieties of the same color, right? Like you want vanilla ice cream, but you can get it in 10 different ways. So I think that it's just a matter of knowing who your talent is, right? Knowing who the audience is, and playing to both of those and what's going on out here, right? What we're talking about. We could talk about Aaron Rodgers for an hour because you guys both seem to have good opinions on any topic, I could say. So we could talk about Aaron Rodgers for an hour and I could know that, hey, these two guys can do that. Whereas other shows, it might be like a 5-minute thing. So it's knowing your show, your talent, and then kind of what's going on out here in the ether of sports and entertainment.
No, we'll end up doing that for the next hour probably because we have a Packers guest as our next guest.
That's
Perfect.
true.
There you go. Look at the tease for that. That worked out perfect.
You know what's so funny? I'd rather talk about his ex-wife or fiance. Okay, I'd rather talk about her.
Which
because
one?
it seems, that's true too. I mean, that's true too. But it's so funny because everybody likes to throw Aaron Rodgers under the bus, but Aaron Rodgers to me is the best all-around player right now in the NFL. He's been the best all-around player in the NFL besides Aaron Donald in the last 5-6 years. As everybody knows, we are talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy. You know, it's so funny because we all know we before we had this show and before we were going to interview you, you told us that you were an LA fan. Nathan told me that you were going out to LA for the Super Bowl. So what was it like celebrating your LA Rams in the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford winning the Super Bowl for your team after everybody was throwing him under the bus saying, oh, this guy can't do it. He can't do it. Meanwhile, he comes from the Lions. He wins the Super Bowl his first year with the LA Rams. And then I saw a couple of pictures. You had a couple of pictures with Clayton Kershaw. What was it like going to some of those parties out there celebrating your LA Rams winning the Super Bowl?
I know I should add a Super Bowl banner in here of my Rams. I guess I can claim them as my Rams. I feel like LA fandom sometimes is like, oh, the Kings won. Go Kings, go. Also, can we just say that Matt Stafford and Aaron Rodgers have the same amount of rings now, right?
That's true.
Let's keep that clear. So people who are talking shit on Matt Stafford, there you go. At the end of the day, all things considered, you know what I mean? Obviously different careers, but I was talking so much trash at the Super Bowl in the same row as a bunch of Bengal fans. I was like, if we pull this off, I'm going to get a tattoo of an LA on me. And everyone's like, okay, sure. And I'm like, sure enough, there it is.
Look how small it is.
It's tiny. I know. I'm trying to go with like the tiny, cute, like girly look. But yeah, I never did like having the Dodgers win was like my whole heart. And then the Lakers, I love the Lakers as well. And then now another team, it's just like the city of champions. And I think it would have been cool to have one giant parade, but the moment has kind of passed for the 2020 teams. But yeah, Kershaw, that was amazing. That was part of what I did with ESPN, our pre-tailgate party. I kind of took my breath away a little bit because Clayton Kershaw to me in LA is like Kobe, right? Like, yeah, they've been at the same team forever. Fingers crossed he doesn't go back home to Dallas and the Rangers or whoever. I hope he finishes his career as a Dodger, but it was cool. Those parties and whatnot. I didn't go to a ton of them. I went to a couple of things while I was out there. I'm personally a little nervous about COVID still, but once you're in the moment, everything feels normal again. And it's just like, oh, the difference is I have a mask on, but I've never been to a Super Bowl before. So the whole thing felt abnormal until like an hour or two into it. And I'm like, oh, all right. You know, Bryce is right there, Bryce Young and Clayton Kershaw and Chris Berman. And you just kind of look around, Matthew Berry, and it's fun. It's a wild experience. And I look up and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? You know, it's just one of those kind of moments where I'm sure you guys have interviewed people where you're like, is this me? What, you know, like, I can't believe it, but it felt like one of those moments.
It's funny that you said that because I was in Miami for the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I was going to go this year to do the interviews, and I was at the Stanley Cup Finals in a couple of years ago when St. Louis won the Cup. I was on the ice. Brett Hull was there, Al McGinnis, guys that I played, I wanted to play against when I was playing hockey before I hurt my knee and I lost my way to wherever I was going to go as a professional athlete. But it is so funny when you think about it, when you see these guys, they're no longer players. And we've interviewed a ton of people that we've respected. We followed when we were kids and we're like, oh my God, he's fantastic. And then we interview and you're like, they're completely different people when you're interviewing them. You're having a little bit of fun with them. It's really amazing. It really is. So
I think that's a testament to you being an interviewer, though, you guys, because it's like they have that persona.
Mm-hmm.
There was a basketball player that I was trying to get an interview with, and he was on a TV show at the time. And it's like, you're going to pull out the bad part of his personality if you go down this certain path of questions. And I'm like, okay, because they have their like professional, right, which the world kind of sees. And then they have their, their own personality, right? And I think people forget that. But when you get in front of them and you have a good line of questioning, it just slowly peels them back. So I think that's a testament to your questions if you're able to get them to act a little more human.
Well, it's so funny that you say that because I think there was only one interview that we've had on this show that the guy kind of just like was like came off just like thinking that we were crazy. And I used to I used to ask these silly questions. I would get 5-6 silly questions for anybody that we interviewed. Who was the Bulls analyst?
Chuck Swirsky.
We had Chuck on the show.
He knew quick.
Yes.
PD knew quick.
Yes. So we had Chuck.
He brings it up all the time because of this.
Oh, yes. We had Chuck on the show, and we had special music for him. And so I said, Chuck, we're going to ask you 5 crazy questions. You ready to answer them? He says, how crazy are they going to be? I was like, I don't know. We're going to go with it, okay? So I asked him the first 2 questions. He answers and he's laughing. So I said, the third question I had for him, I said, listen, Chuck, if there was a pair of women clothes that you could go out in public that you could wear, what would they be? And what type of color lipstick you would wear when you went out public? He sat there for a second. He looked at me and he was like, are you serious? I said, yeah, I want to know what you would do.
I feel like that would be easy though, like sweatpants and clear lip gloss, right? Like you could do something basic or you could do something fun.
The funnier part of it though is we actually had earlier in that same show we had the ex-pass rusher for the Broncos and the Ravens, Trevor Price, on the show, and he was saying he would go full nude. So.
Oh, what a variety! What a colorful variety of answers.
So yeah, you went from that extreme where he rolled with everything to Chuck completely scoring off the show.
Question. You asked the question, he just answered it honestly.
Oh man, we still haven't gotten back on the show.
Oh no, you got to be like, all right, let's try again. You guys are Andy Cohen in this situation. Like we're going to plead the fifth and ask you questions and you can only not answer one. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting with that.
Well, it's funny because when we interview these guys, we always tell them before the show, this is not like any other interview you've ever had. We'll ask you some silly questions. We'll ask you the regular questions to everybody. And then we're going to go off topic where, when people listen to shows in any kind of radio, they get bored of the same stupid questions you ask. The same damn
interesting. Yeah, exactly.
So what we do is we say, you know what? We're going to throw you a curveball. We're going to throw you. So Jarvis, we had Jarvis Green on 2 weeks ago. He he was absolutely drunk in his taxi. Okay. He was driving around Boston. He told us he was going to call us when he was driving around.
Wait, where was he driving around?
In Boston.
Boston and Boston. Okay. Sorry.
Boston.
I just had to hear it again. It's so good.
Us New Yorkers, our deep
New Yorkers. I love it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and he was wasted, and he had such a good time with us because we just had him laughing. We had him spitting out his stuff, out of his mouth.
You got it. That's what it's about. A little sip, a little spill. It's okay. You got to have some fun. Why not?
Absolutely. And then we had somebody that was drunk on our show, so it really fit
I
together.
heard a little bit about that when I was sitting waiting to come in. I heard a little bit about that.
Well, he's no longer a part of the show anymore.
Oh, bless him wherever he is.
Yes, Carl, Christian Okoye was also a very good interview as well.
Wonderful.
Good. There you go. See, it's your guys' questions too. You got to bring them there.
Oh, Christian loved us. And it was hard to get Christian on the show. He doesn't really do a lot of interviews. He wanted to come on our show, and we had him laughing the whole time. He couldn't stop laughing. We actually renamed him. He was at first he calls himself the Nigerian Nightmare. I said, there's too many athletes named the Nigerian Nightmare. How about we call you? Yeah, there's like 3 of them now.
Okay, yeah, 3's too many. 2 maybe you could get away with, but
there's an MMA fighter called the Nigerian Nightmare, and there's also a runner called the Nigerian Nightmare.
I didn't know about the runner.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we did is first I said, you know what? You look beautiful. You have a beautiful daughter that sings the national anthem at a Lakers, not a Lakers game, an LA Dodgers game. So you know what we're going to call you? We're going to call you the Nigerian goddess. He said, and everybody on the feed was telling me, oh, you're going to call this big man a Nigerian goddess. He liked it.
Why not?
So I said, you know what? We're going to call you the Nigerian Zeus. That's what we're going to call you.
Oh, that is highbrow. I like that. Did it catch on? Did he like that one?
Oh, a matter of fact, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. So now he calls himself the Nigerian Zeus. I said, well, change it on your Twitter, man. So everybody now can pronounce you or announce you as the Nigerian Zeus, not the Nigerian Nightmare.
You can't give away that stuff for free anymore, though. No. Come on. You can't give away those ideas for free. That's the last one.
Listen,
no,
man,
he wanted part of the copyrights.
He did.
No, you did too. You were saying that. Yeah.
I want a couple of bucks, man. I mean, he's trying to get money from Roger Goodell when he was at the Super Bowl. I might as well get some money from him.
You want little finder fee.
That's right.
The cycle of money. It starts with Roger Goodell, comes back to you. There you go.
Full circle right there.
So so you're mentioning LA, a lot of the sports culture over there being a lot integrated with the movies too, and we see that a lot with the celebrity fans that have come into the games, and a lot of the times they don't get the same kind of the home crowd kind of thing you saw the Rams do with the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, try to block it off. Now, do you think this is the kind of thing that is going to be a problem for them if in certain sports, if they can't get a real legitimate fan base, or do you think the market will still end up being strong for that kind of thing just with the celebrities and the famous people?
I think if you're talking about the LA market, it's always going to be strong, right? Like it's a place to see and be seen. There's too much money. There's too much opportunity for that kind of a thing to just kind of let a fan base kind of not kill it, but like let it be a downer. Mm-hmm. So I think what people don't understand too is like in LA, you're coming in the 3rd inning and you're leaving in the 7th. Mm-hmm. I like to call it the Dan Walters. He's a legendary Budweiser executive. And that was like his style. I'm going to come in the 3rd, I'm going to leave in the 7th. And that's my jam, right? I think that's just the LA way, not to be rude or not to hate on other fan bases, but you're in New York and you're in Boston, I assume, with your background, that's you guys get the big fan base. Like there's other things to do. I like to tease my husband, who's the Arkansas Razorback fan. I'm like, of course you are, because there's nothing else there. If you're living in Arkansas, not to be rude, but like, are you going to go cheer on Walmart? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like in LA, you have all these teams. Plus, we're not even talking about like the Sparks and the LAFC. Like there's so many things. And then you go to college stuff, and then you go to just like where you are in LA. So I think that it's not going to, asses and seats is good, but in LA, it's not necessarily the thing that's going to need to be checked to collect on it, obviously, as they won. But that SoFi Stadium's big too. So we got to give it a chance. If you put it in other arenas, it might look a little bit more full. Saying.
Arkansas got a nice basketball team, so there's some
Arkansas,
optimism.
Eric Musselman is the man. I must say, I love that guy. He's very kind. I've booked him before. I love the Red Sox too. They have a special place in my heart. I got married outside of Fenway during COVID.
Well, we're Yankee fans, and by the way, he's a Met fan.
I'm a Met fan,
and he's not
Is
actually.
that Fenway though?
Yes, it
The
is.
background is.
It is.
It is funny you
Okay,
brought up
what is-
Boston, though.
We're in the same studio. We're in New York.
These are all, yeah.
We're in the same studio. We're from New York.
It's funny though you brought up Boston because I have one brother who's working there. He's in engineering, and then my other
Okay.
brother's going to school there at Northeastern. So,
Well, there you go. Then you have some ties there too. But you guys are both New York guys, then. Okay. All right.
Our studio is based out of New York, so we're here in Long Island. So Long Island.
Well, enjoy the Yankees.
Yeah. Well, I am enjoying the Yankees. Not much, but I'm enjoying them.
Hey, what if they get locked out though? Everybody's going to be screwed.
I think this only benefits the Yankees if the lockout, considers to take away 60, 70 games, because the Yankees have always been fighting injury every year. They always have the most injuries. If it's a shorter season, it benefits the Yankees. I think this will benefit the Yankees with a shorter season. Anyways, as everybody knows, we are talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy. One of our fans wanted me to ask you this question. All right, here it is. Ask her to give a juicy story about an ESPN personality from behind the scenes.
Ooh, a juicy story. I don't know what's considered juicy. Like, I have never had bad interactions with any of our talent. And that might sound like bullshit, but I think you get what you give.
Yes.
And I like to think that I'm pretty cool. Just my own opinion. But I'll tell you a story about college football playoff that was just in Indy. I was with Quavo all day, right? So I'm like taking Quavo to a party, then taking him to the stadium to do a hit on Countdown to Game Day, which was the live digital show. And then I took him onto the field, and then he ends up being like in the locker room, right? There's pictures of him. He's just kind of living it up. I literally take Quavo and he's like, let's celebrate. And I'm like, okay, cool. Go home or go wherever, go forward and have fun. And he's like, no, you tell me where to go. And I'm like, I'm in Indianapolis. I don't know where to go. And I'm like, there's a cool bar at my hotel. And all of a sudden it's Quavo in the corner of this bar hotel. And it's like all ESPN talent around us. And we're literally just partying and celebrating that Georgia won with Quavo, and like L. Duncan's there. We're high-fiving. We start doing like whatever their cheer is called. I don't know what it's called, but that's like a fun, I guess, juicy story. I don't have any mean stories. Like everybody there's pretty cool and fun, and they are who they are on screen. Like I've never met someone and been like, damn, you are not nice, or you are not like that. Like, and the most genuine human being, Mike Golick Jr., is phenomenal. I love him.
I hung out with Mike Golick in Miami at the cigar what was it,
cigar bar or something like
no,
that?
it was a cigar bar.
Lounge. Okay.
It was Jaws's cigar party that he had before the play before the
fun. Look at you, highbrow party.
Yeah, I was over there. I got to do some interviews and hung out with some ex-NFL players, or obviously NFL great. I think George Kittle was there, so I hung out with George Kittle.
Awesome. That's
so Mike Golick was there, and I had a little bit of fun with him. He's a massively tall man. He really is.
Oh, the first time I met him in a hallway, because I'm like Twitter friends with these people who are same age, right? Like I like to think I'm like Twitter friends with Gary Streisky. You know what I mean? You have like that banter. And I meet him in the hallway, like one of the first days I'm back on campus, and I was like, you are a large human. And I had brought my puppy into work. Don't tell anybody. And he's like holding my puppy. And I'm like, that dog looks like you could palm it. Like he is just a large human being, but he's so incredibly kind. So kind.
Well, it's so funny because I have a lot of stories, and actually one of the ex-NFL players actually was a big fan of mine. He actually followed. Yeah, he was actually following the show, and he says, I'm actually a big fan. I didn't even know he was following me. And he was a photographer. And who was the guy that I told you, the photographer that was a Witherspoon?
Will Witherspoon.
Will Witherspoon, ex-NFL player. I think he played for the Carolina Panthers.
Right, yeah, Panthers, Rams, and one other team. Titans, I think.
He told me he's been following me. I didn't even know he was following me. He's a big fan of my show. And he actually wanted to take a picture with me. So I actually got a picture with him. But I'll
That makes me feel good.
Yeah, of course. You put a lot of time and 9 years of hard work and dedication on what we do, and hopefully very soon we're going to be pitching it to the major markets. We want people to see what it is. What radio is really supposed to be. I think the problem with radio now, and you should know this. I mean, you work in the industry. I think a lot of people are put together and everybody talks about the same stuff, and it gets so boring. It gets so watered out.
People want the authentic version of who you are at the end of the day, because even if you're being who you are and someone disagrees with you, you can still respect that at least you're being the authentic version of yourself. Like when Kobe died and Elle Duncan got up there and did her reader and came up with Girl Dad, she was being herself. Right. She was just sharing a part of her life, an interaction that she had, but she was just herself. She let herself be emotional. And it sounds crazy to be like, oh, you were allowed to be emotional, but I think that authenticity role is what's going to change media, continually change it. And I hope for you guys that when you do go and hit the national market, that it's so well received, because I think what you guys do and staying authentic to yourself is very important. And people who are going to be guests on your show can see that, and they want that too, because they don't want to come on, just like you said earlier, and get asked the same 5 questions after they've been sitting in a room doing, whether it's a junket of interviews or like a press day or whatever it is. Right. They've heard the same shit over and over again. I've sat on junket floors and heard, not to like knock anybody, but the same questions from 20 different reporters. And I'm like, you have the one-offs who come in and they're interesting and they have a random question, or they said, hey, I met you when I was 10 and look at this picture. Like, people want that. They crave that, because you're taking people behind this curtain of who is this person really? And you're not going to find that out if you're like, how'd you feel when you caught that touchdown? Like, oh, right. I feel terrible. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get the same answer.
Yeah, we did an event over the summertime with Doc Gooden. Doc Gooden was doing this golf.
Look at you name drop. Look at your Rolodex in your brain. My God.
Well, we did an event, and we actually helped host this whole golf event where Doc Gooden was being represented and getting awards. And it's so funny. I was upstairs and Doc was sitting there signing balls. Everybody was giving him balls to sign before he comes down and meets everybody. And I was like, Doc comes to me and says, you want me to sign a ball for you? You want me to take a picture? I was like, no, unless you were going to take a picture with me. I don't want to take a picture with you. And he started laughing.
But you know what I mean? You're probably one of the only people who's ever said that to him. And it's refreshing. I think it's refreshing, right?
Well, his girlfriend really loved me. She thought it was hilarious.
Good. Well, there you go.
Did. We were sitting at the same table, and she was just laughing at everything I was doing. I was making faces every time Doc went up there and he was saying something. I was making faces, and then when I went up there and I was supposed to take a picture with him signing an autograph as a Yankee when he pitched that no-hitter. I said, you know what? That was the last time I can remember a pitcher actually throw a no-hitter for the Yankees.
There you go.
But it's fun. It's great when you meet these guys and you respect them, and they actually will always remember you, because you brighten up their little part of their day where they're, sometimes they just want to come in and they want to get out. He actually wanted to hang out.
Yeah, that's a testament to you again, having that.
Thank you, Katie. I love this. I love Katie. Katie should come on more often. The compliments are swelling.
Anytime.
I'm getting some, I'm getting some bruises over here.
What is it? The same spot as her tattoo? You're going to try to figure that out?
Hey, listen, I got a lot of tattoos too. I have a lot.
Yeah, not the same spot.
Yeah, well, I hide them. You can't see them. But if I showed you a tattoo, all my sports teams, I got a biotic heart, and I have the Knicks, the Islanders, the Yankees, and the
Jets.
The Jets. And 3 out of the 4 teams absolutely stink. Okay, so when people see that tattoo, they say, "Wow, what great artwork!" But why the hell would you put those teams on your?
What commitment? What commitment to losing you have?
Well, look on the bright side. They can't see it unless I take off my shirt.
There you go. That's why mine's teeny tiny, in case they turn around and nosedive. The Dodgers have been good for a long time, just not always the best, but that's like, I can go safely with an LA.
Well, I don't.
Dodgers have been the best for the last 5 years.
I don't usually wear jerseys on this show, and if I do wear jerseys on this show, I wear my teams. I actually got a Kraken's jersey with my name on the back of it. And
Nice.
00. It's a beautiful jersey.
It's a beautiful logo.
Beautiful logo. I hate the name Kraken. I always said to, I was talking, we argued about this on my show months ago.
I voted for Sasquatch, by the way.
There were so many names. I said, why don't they call it the Seattle Grunge?
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you could have still had the magical S or whatever.
Nirvana vibes.
Yeah, I mean,
Cobain vibe.
That's where punk was really created. That's where grunge is from.
The Kraken's cool though. I mean, it's not the worst that there is, right?
No, I just didn't like the name. Really
but the jersey's badass.
Beautiful,
really
beautiful.
cool.
I mean, the colors. Look at the colors. Beautiful.
Yeah, you get a New Yorker in a Kraken jersey. They're doing something right.
Hey, don't throw me under the bus now. Don't throw me under the bus.
Hey, you could get a Jordan Everly jersey.
The New York fans are going to kill me. Oh, my God. Here we go.
Those who are listening only, I just ratted him out. He's in a Kraken jersey and a Yankee hat. What is he doing?
Hey, look at it. It matches. Look at that.
It does match. It has a little bit of like a powder blue situation.
Well, that gives me some, that gives me some numbers, right, Speedy? It gives me some points on the,
Yeah, some cred.
Sure. Yeah, I should get credit for that. Right, Speedy?
I suppose. So my question is, aside from the talent production stuff that you've done, just an experience that you might have had maybe growing up as a fan, like one of your favorite fan experiences. You said you're connected with the LA teams, and also you said the Red Sox as well was one that was close to you. Do you have any unique fan story or maybe a young interaction that you might have had?
Yeah, I do. I hope my dad's listening. I'm going to talk about my dad. I wanted to bond with my dad, so that's why I learned sports. And then my dad's like, I was in dance class and he's like, dancing or softball? You decide. You got to pick one because you got to be good at it. And I'm like, softball it is, because my sister played and wanted to play. So anyways, I've been like a softball baseball fan because that's the first sport I kind of learned with my dad. And we went to a Dodger game. And I brought this like old white softball. I'm dating myself because softballs were like heavy and white, right? And he brought that with us. And I was like, what are we going to do with that? And he's like, maybe we'll get an autograph. And I was like, maybe that'd be cool. 9-year-old me. My dad starts going like through these stairs at Dodger Stadium that I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to go through. And we just kept going and going. And I was like, where the hell are we going? I'm 9 though, or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm just following my dad. And in the stairwell by himself is Tommy Lasorda.
Oh,
and my dad's like, Tommy, I've loved you forever. My dad's a huge Dodger fan because his dad was a Brooklyn Dodger fan.
Right.
So it's been like a lineage thing, right? As most sports fandoms are, or wherever you're born or whatever. But my dad had that pen and softball ready. So at my parents' house, there's this giant ass softball with a Tommy Lasorda on it. And it's like one of my moments where I'm like, I love this. I love being here at the game. It's something I can do to bond with my dad. And then the Boston part of it, my husband, when I first started at ESPN, Boston, my grandma's actually from Boston, but I didn't know that until I was like older because I have no sense of like anywhere outside of California. Californians are very like, it's here or nowhere. But my first date with my husband was at Fenway, and he's a Ranger fan. So he's in full on Ranger gear. And I'm like trying to fit in wearing a Red Sox hoodie. But 10 years later, we got married outside of Fenway. So I feel like that's a cool memory that I have from my early 20s is, the Red Sox have done me well in the husband department. So
there you go.
They were able to get to the same spot.
What'd you say?
Were you able to get to the same spot around where you guys?
No, because so we were gonna try to go in, but with COVID, they were like, no. So we were just outside, and the team was gonna practice anyways. But our friend Will Middlebrooks, I'm gonna call you my friend Will. I've never met him in person, but I love Will. My husband grew up in the same town in Texas with him. And he actually got the Red Sox to put on their scoreboard banner, whatever, congratulations, and our wedding date on it. So that was really nice. Will knew that we couldn't get in, but he did something a little extra special for us. So that was nice.
It's so interesting. And by the way, we are talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy. And it's so funny because you talk about Boston. I have some crazy stories about Boston because
I bet you do. I have the vibe that you do.
Me and my old partner, we used to go out to Connecticut and Foxwoods, and then we'd go to Boston to promote our radio show. And I'll never
look at you.
It's the winter time, and I'm of course wearing my Yankee hat, and I'm wearing a Yankee jersey. And I'll never forget it. We pull it. Boston is very clean. It's a clean city. It's not like New York City. You don't really see anything on the ground. It's like made out of the highways are made out of bricks and stuff like that. It's crazy. So we're parking, and I just got new tires. Okay, and I get out of my car. Yeah, hold on. So we're standing on a line. Everybody's looking at us like we have six heads because I'm wearing a Yankee hat. He's telling me, take off the damn Yankee hat. These people are going to kill you. I was like, it's going to be even funnier because I took off my T-shirt that I was wearing, and I was wearing a Yankees champion, 1996 Yankees championship shirt. So I'm walking in. I'm trying to get in. The guy says, "Are you really going into this place with that?" I said, "Absolutely." What if they're going in with their Boston hats, what is the difference? He said, "You're going to get killed in here." I was like, "Oh, all right, whatever. I don't care." So I go in there. We're staying in the corner. People are looking at us. Nobody wanted to talk to us. Like we had poison in our pants. Okay. So my friend says, "Let's get out of here." So I'm getting out of we get out of the club. And so we're getting in my car, and I'm pulling backwards. I'm pulling backwards to try to get out of a spot, and I hear so I run over a filled beer bottle. I get out of the car, and everybody on the line that was trying to get into the place was laughing. So I said, "You think this is funny, right?" So I go into my trunk. I pull out pull out like a what do they call that? With the tire.
The iron thing.
Iron. And I'm threatening these people that I'm going to go and beat them up with the thing. And these people are looking at me as like, good. The bouncer says, "You better get the hell out of here." And people were throwing things at my car. I was so pissed off the whole night. We drove all the way home from Boston that night. I was so angry. So, it was a stupid move by me. But again, it's just sports. It's just sports.
The Yankee and the Boston fans are different because back to tattoos. I got a tattoo in Boston. And I was carrying that dog that I was talking about, my little tiny dog with me. And this girl stops, and my dog is named Scully after Vin Scully. She's a little cute redheaded microdoodle, thought it fit. But I'm walking with this dog, and she has a little Dodger collar, and the girl's like, "Oh my God, can I take a picture with?" And she looked down, she goes, "Bye," and walks away from me. She's like, "That's disgusting." I'm like, "What?" And it's like the Dodger tag on my dog. She was not having it. She was all lovely and let's take a picture. Then she saw it, and it's like, so at least they're loyal, right? There's nothing like a Yankee and a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, but you go to a Yankee stadium, you don't see any of you go to a Yankees Red Sox game, the Yankee fans do not do anything to the Boston Red Sox fans. You go to Boston, absolutely. I've gone to a ton of them. And then you go to I've been to 2 Fenway games with the Yankees. Forget about it. You're wearing a Yankee hat. You might as well 50 Shades of Gray, man. You better be wearing gray, and a lot of you better be wearing a rain jacket because people are gonna be throwing things at you and calling you disgusting names.
Well,
go ahead, hun.
I was gonna say, can we all just mutually agree that Philly has the biggest hooligans in the country?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I went to a Yankee game. I've been to 2, I think, since I've lived out here. And I wore a Red Sox shirt, and I walked in, and just the looks that I got, my husband was with me, and he can attest to this. I just had a regular blue Nike pullover, and I zipped that shit up so quick. I'm like, I am not here. I do not care that much. I'm a Dodger fan. I'm just here, and I happen to have a Red Sox shirt, but I'm not testing the fandom of Yankees right now by being the only person in this shirt. Zip that up real quick.
Just stay away from the bleacher creatures. As long as you're.
Oh my God, that's a whole. People have no idea. I had no idea, right? You can hear about it, and everybody thinks that their fandom's the best fandom.
Yeah.
That is another level. We were talking about how LA can't fill the stands sometimes because there's in and out, casual fans.
Yes.
Those people, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, you got to stay away from. Don't wear any Boston stuffs. I'll never forget when I went to a game. I don't remember. I think it was Kansas City, and somebody was wearing a Boston hat. It wasn't even the Boston Red Sox playing against the Yankees, and they were wearing it right by the bleacher creatures. They took the hat and they threw it to another level. I mean, like seriously, you don't go over there with a Boston Red Sox.
I don't think so. Yeah, I
Not
think
that area.
Yeah,
Not that area.
I think that's a good call. safe bet right there. If anyone's taking the line on that one, it's a safe bet. God.
Last question for me. As everybody knows, we are talking to ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy.
As everybody knows.
Yes, as everybody knows. I mean, it's 40 minutes. There they know.
Hey,
if they don't know by now, what are you doing?
That's right. I mean, it's right on the bottom of the screen too.
We got the sports fans and the movie fans and the Marvel universe fans.
That's true. That's
the
true.
Star Wars fans. I have Star Wars fans.
I'm a diehard Star Wars fan, by the way. Diehard.
Who you are?
Oh, diehard.
Oh, nice. I have some Star Wars stories. Those are the good ones.
Oh, man.
Carrie Fisher, before she died, I walked her to a lunch. She's hilarious. She's like, how much longer is this fucking walk? And I'm like, Carrie, I just have to take you from your car to your lunch.
You should have asked her. You should have asked her before that. He's like, how was it like kissing your brother?
I, to be honest, at that point in time when I was 23, I had no idea about any of that stuff. So I got told, grab Carrie Fisher and walk her to lunch. And I'm like, Princess Leia, right? Question mark. Now I know. Now I have the utmost respect for the whole thing. But
my DJ like anthem, my drop is Darth Vader.
Look at you. He's with the DJ drop. He's waiting for it.
Luke, it says, Luke, I am your spin doctor.
Oh my God.
Oh, man. But here's my question.
Yes.
For all the time and all the years that you've been doing this, did you ever see yourself doing this, being 10 years almost into the business? Did you ever see yourself working for ESPN and having a high profile position over there at ESPN the way you do?
High profile. How nice. Is it like arrogant to say yes? Like I always wanted to be at ESPN. I wanted to be on camera talent. And then I worked at Nike in college and I worked with a pro surfer because it was down by the beach in California. And she's like, I could see you producing and not being on camera. Like you need to be in charge of somebody. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. But 19-year-old me, I'm like, I want to get in front of the camera and do the thing and blah, blah, blah. Right. But yeah, I did think I would get here. The path that I took is kind of all over the place. And when people come and hit me up for advice on LinkedIn or whatever, which I always respond to everybody. So if anybody has more questions about the industry, happy to help because people help me along the way. But you just got to try it. Like, I'm sure your guys' paths were not 100% conventional. When you guys started this, people were like, what are you thinking? But it's like that work that you put in, and you have to be unafraid of hearing no. Like I hear no 90% of the time during my day, but those 10% of yeses, that's what keeps you going, right? Like, I'm sure you guys experience that too. Like people are like, what are you doing? Or how much longer are you going to do it for? You can't do that for forever. And it's like, no, sports are here to stay. Sports are like the everlasting thing that bring us together and make us feel good and have something to kind of root for. You know what I mean?
If you ever knew anything about, and as you get to know us, I mean, I started this, 7-8 years ago. I worked as an executive producer at NBC Sports Radio for Going Deep with Amani Toomer and Dan Schwartz.
Yes, I remember those. Yes.
I left NBC because I wanted an opportunity. I started one of the first live digital radio shows on what's the thing that we were using? I'm sorry, that's connected to Twitter.
Periscope.
We were one of and we were averaging 30 to 40,000 people, and people started copycatting SNY, MSG. We were one of the first digital platforms that really started to wrinkle out what digital and what podcast video was doing. And they didn't have these programs, Zoom and everything like that. We were using iPads and doing it. And Disney actually reached out to us. Crazy story is, there was an executive watching us on our screen. It was like 25,000. They say, you guys are hilarious. You guys are funny. This is before even Speedy was here, me and my partner. And we would go back and forth, and we really, really funny. This is when Skip and obviously Stephen A. Smith was on,
First Take,
yes, First Take, and Cold Pizza, whatever the hell it was.
Oh yeah, Cold Pizza. Sorry,
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. So they wanted to sit down, and before Disney bought into ESPN, Disney was interested in bringing us on as a talent to be their first sports radio show for their network, whatever network, because it wasn't ESPN at the time. And what happened was they asked us, if we can change our content, because we had a lot of fans that called us up and cursed, and we were just starting to build something, and I didn't want to change what our content was. So we kind of pushed it to the side and denied any opportunity. It was a big mistake that we made, but we wanted to continue doing what we were doing, and we wanted people to, and we were drawing 30,000-40,000 people on Periscope every night. So it was just, it's a shame. And then we kind of took a break off of Periscope, and then when we came back, everybody started copycatting. Now every single sports show is on Periscope. Now there's no more Periscope; it's just Twitter now.
Isn't that crazy? How it's all the way around? But I mean, you're where you're supposed to be, right? Like you're still being authentic and true to yourself. So I think that counts for a lot.
Well, thank you. That really means a lot from somebody like you, Katie. So I really appreciate that.
It's true.
Go ahead, Speedy.
So my last question is regarding any sport right now, just as a sports fan. It could be any of your LA team. Just one bold prediction, for anything in sports.
Oh God, one bold prediction: the Lakers win this year. That's bold, right?
It is bold. The way their team's going.
You both are like awkward silence because she sounds like an idiot. You said bold. That's really bold. Bold. What are we, like the 9 in the West or something stupid?
I know it's 9. Yeah, right now it's 9. And might be losing either Anthony Davis or LeBron James too.
I got news for you.
You just look away from it and come back, and all of a sudden you've won. That's an LA fan.
There's a guy on YouTube right now. He always, the last couple of years, besides this year's Super Bowl, he has predicted in almost every single sport who was going to the championship in each sport and who was going to win. And he already said that the Lakers are going to make the playoffs. They're going to play in the play-in game, and they're going to go all the way to the championship and win the whole thing. That's what he said.
So we're going to hold this guy to it.
I'm not so bold. He's already said it. So my secondary bold prediction is that the Rams repeat. There you go.
Oh, that's bold.
First.
That's bold.
Ooh.
That's bold. I don't think
that's back at this time next year. Run it back.
All right. So I'm going to hold you to it.
Do they re-sign everybody that they're trying to? You think they'll?
I don't know, because do they ever want to win again? But I don't know. I feel like the NFL is
careful, Katie. Be careful because if you lose this and we come back to this, and you might have to wear Speedy's underwear on your head.
No, I wouldn't do that to her. Come on.
If I win, then Speedy needs to have a sweet headband, just like me.
I'd much rather do that than torture you in my underwear. I'd much rather wear a headband than make her wear my underwear.
He should be called Sweetie Petey. Listen to this. He's the sweetest. He's so nice. He's like, no, you don't have to do the bed. It's okay.
I wouldn't torture you by putting underwear on your head.
I wouldn't do it. I would be like, oh, cool, guys.
He tortured me, but I live up to my bets. He tortured me.
Yeah, you guys could do that.
That wasn't my bet. That was Snug's bet.
Yeah, well, screw Snug. How's that? Anyways, Katie, tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter. I think I'm most active at KAY_Hennessy, like the alcohol, but add an E before the Y. HENNY. Strawberry Hennessy. I heard that you're teasing that story ahead of when I came on. Strawberry Hennessy. I've only ever had Hennessy straight, so I don't know about the strawberry.
Go to Fridays. They make them.
Okay. Okay, question mark. Okay, exclamation point.
And if you ever meet up with Jarvis Green in Boston, he might have some too.
That's
Jarvis Green at me. Let's have some Hennessy. Let's have a little Henny. Let's,
strawberry Henny. Don't forget the
strawberry Henny. It'll be a good time. Let's just make it a Neapolitan one while we're at it.
There you go. Or a whiskey sour. How's that?
Ooh, that's whiskey sour. I'm more of a 7-7 type of person.
She says 7 and 7. I don't really drink, so only once a year. Maybe you want to come out for my birthday, my 40th this year.
Hey,
right?
Your 40th this year. Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. 2 months now. 2 months.
There you go.
I'll be 40. I don't look 40, but
no, you don't. I was going to say you probably look 34, 35.
I always hear like between 28 and 29.
When I first met him, I thought he was 28.
Yeah,
there you go. You nailed the prediction on the head.
Yeah, so that's what I always hear. I still hear it. I look the same that I did when I was 30. So
good for you. Exfoliate, some SPF. Keep it.
I don't do that. I don't exfoliate.
See, there was a reason. There's a reason when you were saying that you were 31 before that he was calling you a baby. Everybody younger than than him is a baby.
I was sitting here when he was saying that. I'm like, what is he
You
talking
are a
about?
baby.
Everybody younger than him is a baby.
I'm 9 years your elder, okay?
Well, man, we're in the same bracket though. When you check the
That's
box
true.
of like what age you are, we're in the same one.
Well, that's what they say. Anything between 10 and 15 years. Is
I'm a COVID 28. Let's
Oh,
just
you're-
go back to when
oh,
time
yeah.
stopped. I'm a COVID 28, and it is what it is.
All right. So if you're a COVID 28, I'm a COVID 39.
There
Okay.
you go. Keep it going. Just keep the 39 going.
That's right. Katie, thank you for joining us. We definitely want to get you on again. You're awesome. We really
Thanks.
appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime, you guys, and good luck with everything, and enjoy your next guest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Katie, yes, from ESPN, talent producer Katie Hennessy. Awesome interview. She's great, has a great personality. It's it's so interesting when you get these people on the show and all these different personalities. If they're not producers, directors, they all have a different approach to the way they bring their personality out. And she just is authentic. She's really funny. She told us some great stories. And she didn't only just work for ESPN or works for ESPN. She worked for Disney. So she had the opportunity to work for some of the Marvel, Star Wars. I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah, thank you, Nathan, for having Katie on our show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you like the Star Wars end of it. You could bring out the Darth Vader DJ stories.
Yes. So why not? I mean, those are true stories, guys.
No, I believe it.
Those are true
Who wouldn't want to
stories.
walk out to Death Star music?
Yeah, well, what do you want me to do? You want me to stand on this table and do a dance? And you know what I should do? I should dress up like Darth Vader on this show. That would be funny for a whole show dressed up like Darth Vader. I just can't do the voice. Oh, you're my father.
Maybe you need one of those voice amplifiers or something.
That
like
would
that.
be good. Just like the Scream movies, I'll have like the voice that changes your voice into Darth Vader. That would be funny, don't you think?
Yeah. Maybe I wonder if I could reduce something in one of my editing softwares to make that kind of thing work. You just say, "I am your father," in some kind of the deepest voice you can. That I could reduce it down or something. I don't know.
You know what? Why don't we just have Carl call the show and be the voice of our Darth Vader? How's that sound? Well, yeah, he's got
have
a
you heard
deep
what
voice.
Carl's voice sounds like?
Yeah, he's got a, I don't know. I don't know if he sounds like Darth, or Garth. How about Garth from Wayne's World?
Yes.
Wayne's World, party time, excellent. Woo, 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 woo. Give me a break. In just a few moments, we will have leader, news editor, and writer from the Pack to the Future, Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini joining us. He will be fun. Definitely fun talking a little Packers football. He's one of the more known writers for the Packers. He's very well known in the Packer world. So definitely looking to have Ralph on. Ralph and me had our little tidbit a couple about almost a year ago.
It was right before the first year of 2 Aaron Rodgers MVP season. So I think it was June or July of 2020 when we had him on, and you guys were arguing about Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. We also did a segment on the show with that at the time.
I might have to, I might have to take back.
I was going to say now 2 MVPs. That might sway your opinion a little bit because you also have stood for Aaron Rodgers, stood up for Aaron Rodgers for a while too. When a lot of people are bashing him and whatever.
I don't know. You could go back and forth on looking at Brett Favre's career and Aaron Rodgers' career. I mean, both won one Super Bowl. I mean, and Aaron Rodgers as an I still think Aaron Rodgers is going to win another one. Before he's done, Aaron will win another one. I just don't know if he's going to win one with the Packers. I think he's on his way out from the Packers, but Aaron Rodgers has had a sensational year, and if you were a sensational career, and if you would have asked me who's the better quarterback in the top of their careers, I would say Aaron Rodgers. I mean, not Brett Favre anymore.
Ben disagrees. He still says Favre over Rodgers.
Yeah, well, no, he said no. Rodgers over Favre.
No, Ben says Favre over Rodgers.
No, it looks like the
No, the greater sign is the end of the triangle is less.
Really?
Yes. You're always
That's not
taught
the
that in
math-
like math and like simple math terms. And
You know
stuff.
what? I hate the mathematical things. Okay, I'm not a mathematical, what do they call them? Teachers or,
I mean, I'm far from it too. Those are more my brother's expertise. They're better with that stuff.
Yeah, your brother.
No,
your
it's
brothers
always, but yeah, those were one of the things. You always thought the greater sign,
Mathematician,
it gets
there it
bigger.
is.
It gets bigger. Just remember that from grade school.
Niffin says, breaking news, Aaron Rodgers is close to signing a deal with the Lakers. That's pretty good. I like that.
Maybe he'll go to the Dodgers too. Who knows?
Well, with everything that's going on, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, seriously, the Dodgers seem to sign everybody. So that's just a whole nother story and a whole nother realm, but we're not going to get into that. But in just a few moments, we'll be talking to Ralph Mancini. He's going to be joining us. That'll be fun. Me and Ralph, like I said, we have a background of arguing about Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. So being that it's almost 2 years later, I definitely want to hear his thoughts now. Does he still believe that Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback over Brett Favre? I argued it was Brett Favre. I'm going to sway maybe to Aaron Rodgers' level now. But so why don't we go to a quick break? When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to leader, news editor, writer for Pack to the Future and Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini, here on the Sports Loudmouth.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is the Sports Loudmouths.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are the Sports Loudmouths. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Speedy PD. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Go to our website. Well, go to our app. Go to our app on iOS, WWSRN or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. What a long show. It always is. And like I said, I want to give a shout out to Tyler Harrison. He's no longer going to be on the show. Everything that Tyler has done for the show, for the time that he was here, he's been a good, I guess you could say, Samaritan. Now he is going off to drinking or whatever the heck he does. It seems like every time he was here, he was drinking. So, hopefully Tyler, does well, in the future of what he's going to do. But, it is what it is. But we were going to get, oh, there he is. There's Ralph.
Yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Hey.
Yeah. So as everybody knows,
the camera to work. Sorry, guys.
There you go, man. You look good, man. You look
Technical difficulties. Yeah, thanks.
You got the little black in the back, the Black Attack man over here. You're now talking to the leader, news editor, writer for the Pack to the Future and Packers Talk. Yes, Ralph Mancini. Ralph, what's going on, bud?
Hey, man. It's that time of year again. A lot of intrigue there with the Packers, salary cap issues. On pins and needles with Aaron Rodgers. A lot of drama going on.
Yeah, there is a lot of drama. And before we get into the drama with the Packers, how are you doing? I mean, the last time you were on the show, bud, me and you went back and forth on Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. I mean, you've been so adamant about Aaron Rodgers that he's the greatest quarterback to come out of the Packer land. And I was back and forth with Brett Favre. At that time, I still thought that Brett Favre was the better of the quarterbacks. I will actually take back on some of the things that I said because Aaron Rodgers has really changed my mind in the last couple of years. So how have you been doing since the last time we had you on the show?
I'm doing great. I am such a big Packers fan that I actually moved from New York City out to North Dakota. So I'm actually a little closer now to Wisconsin. I'm obviously I'm here for work purposes. I'm a newspaper editor. I try to write about the Packers, whenever I can, but I'm still following every day and still rooting as hard as I can.
All right, so why don't we get into the Packers, bud? And as everybody knows, we are talking to the leader and news editor, writer of the Pack to the Future and Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini. So this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, obviously the playoffs, getting eliminated by San Francisco, it's snowing, below zero weather, it started snowing heavy in the second half. Everybody wanted to throw Aaron Rodgers under the bus, saying Aaron Rodgers was horrible in the game, but what really showed in that game was the special teams was absolutely atrocious. They couldn't kick the ball. Crosby missed a point, 3-point field goal, and then the punt return that actually gave the San Francisco 49ers the lead. Aaron Rodgers now, he spoke at the winning his MVP. He was thanking everybody, thanking the Packers fans, because I believe he was saying farewell to the Packer fans. What are your thoughts to what Aaron Rodgers said at the MVP when he won the MVP at the award show? And do you think that everything that you've been hearing the last couple of weeks, that Aaron Rodgers could be on his way out?
As far as what Aaron Rodgers says, I take a lot of that with a grain of salt. Just a few days ago, he put up these pictures on Instagram where there were pictures of his teammates. He was saying goodbye to everybody. And then there was one picture where, they were showing the guy standing for the national anthem and he was missing from his usual spot. So, fans could, try to read into this what they will. But I look at it this way, as far as Aaron Rodgers goes, I think that he's got two options. Either he retires or he plays for the Packers because he's still under contract with Green Bay. So everybody wants to speculate. Will it be the Denver Broncos that trades for him? Will it be another team? But the Packers organization has to be willing to trade him, and he's still under contract. So, and as far as I know, and Brian Gutekunst said this just the other day, it's like, I never promised to trade Aaron Rodgers. And that's not part of his plan. Throughout the whole offseason, whether it was the coach LaFleur, whether it was Gutekunst, they said that, our intention is to hold on to Aaron Rodgers. He's going to be our starting quarterback moving forward. And they stuck to that. I don't think they're saying that because they're trying to posture. I don't think they're trying to say that so they can get a few more draft picks from some team that might be interested. So I really think that, the Packers front office holds the cards here.
So a lot of rumors are being made of Aaron Rodgers is waiting on Davante Adams, where he's going to end up going in free agency. Davante Adams demanding the highest paid receiver in the league, which I think he's the best receiver in football right now. He deserves it, but a lot of his asking prices have been too rich for some teams. Do you think that is the case? And will Aaron Rodgers demand a trade over there, or do you don't think it's correlated at all? Davante Adams has his own path.
Well, I think that what happens to Davante is going to have an impact on what Aaron does, and I mean the Packers are going to have to move soon. So if their intention is to give or make Davante their franchise player, they have until March 8th to do that. But quite frankly, from a financial standpoint, I don't think that would be the smartest thing to do because as they stand right now, I believe that they're about a little bit over 30 million over the cap still, even with all the moves that they made recently this past week. You want to throw like another 22 million on top of that with the franchise tag? I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I think their only way out here is if they can agree to a long-term deal with Davante Adams in a way where, it doesn't hurt them a whole lot in the upcoming season. So I hope that, as a Packer fan, I hope that happens relatively soon before Rodgers makes his announcement. But if they do come to an agreement with Davante, then I think, this is me talking personally, I'm thinking it's a done deal. I think Aaron comes back, so.
as everybody knows, we are talking to the leader of news editor and writer for Pack to the Future and Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini. Ralph, we obviously you're a Packers guy, and going into the offseason, everybody keeps talking about Aaron Rodgers, and this is the same team that had the best record in football throughout the season. They fell apart in the playoffs against San Francisco, where a game that I think that if it didn't snow and it wasn't as cold as it was, I think they beat San Francisco. I think they go all the way to the Super Bowl. I still believe they were the better team. Going into this offseason, I still think there's a lot of questions about this team, especially in the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line, they're getting older. Okay, this is an old offensive line. You look at their running back play. Now, I know they paid Jones in the offseason last year. They paid him a lot of money. To me, throughout the season, he's a good running back. Going into the playoffs, he's not as good. He's not as durable in the playoffs. This year, it didn't really matter because they only played one game, so you don't know what he had, and they lost Dylan early in that game, so nobody knows what that game would have been if Dylan actually stayed in the game. What does the Packers do if they bring back Aaron Rodgers? If somehow they bring back Davante Adams, that's not enough. Do you see them making a move? Do they replenishing it in the draft to try and fix this offensive line that I think is getting old, which didn't look as good as it did in the second half of the season? What do they do? What do you think they need to do to make this team, if they make this team as good as it was last year with Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams?
Well, don't forget, I mean, a big reason why their offensive line wasn't as strong as as they were as it was in the past is because of a couple of big injuries, namely Bakhtiari didn't play basically all year, and then they had a catastrophic injury to Elton Jenkins, who's just that versatile guy who could play at any position along the offensive line. Now, what do? I really think that what they need to do is even if they sign Davante Adams, I think they need to replenish at the wide receiver position. That's one of the things that you saw with this team in that game versus San Francisco, where everybody's talking about, well, why is Aaron throwing the ball to Davante all the time? Well, that's because 90% of the time he's the only one who's open. I mean, don't get me wrong. Alan Lazard is a good role player, but he's not a number 2 and he's not even a number 3 receiver. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is a guy who's very fast, but he can't catch the ball. Randall Cobb is way past his prime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so who do they have outside of Davante Adams? So I think that particularly in the draft, they're going to have to focus on that position.
Which is a very weak draft when it comes to wide receivers. It really is.
Yeah, they might have to take one in the first round.
That's what they're going to have to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, but yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about where they need to replenish, and then you're looking at tight end. Robert Tonyan not being there in that game versus San Francisco also hurt the Green Bay Packers. It gave Rodgers one fewer target to look for, and so he's coming off an ACL injury. So they might have to bring in another tight end. Mercedes Lewis is about 40 years old, so we're close to it. So, I mean, that's another position they're going to have to look at. So you're right. This offense is not perfect. It has a lot of holes. But as far as that 49ers game goes, you said it. When Dylan went down, I think that really, really hurt the offense because of those conditions, because it was windy and it was cold and it was snowy. I mean, I think, Dylan should have been the centerpiece of that game plan. Unfortunately, he went out with a broken rib. And so, that really hurt the team overall.
So the Packers have always been known as one of the organizations that loves to home grow their players, hang on to their players for a while, and not big investments into free agency. Now they've done it a little more recently with the Smith pass rushers. They tried it with Muhammad Wilkerson. It didn't work. They had a couple of them, but again, they're mostly based on homegrown. Now we saw the Rams win the Super Bowl with kind of the other extreme. They trade all their draft picks. They get Odell on a small contract, and they swing for the fences on these other outside signings. Do you think the Packers kind of have to adapt to that kind of trend to be good in today's NFL, where you see this kind of player movement?
Well, I think that this is a different Packers organization than the one that we saw 10 years ago under Ted Thompson. Under Ted Thompson, yes, traditionally they were that team that built through the draft. They were very conservative. Whatever money they spent on their own guys. But, now they do actually go after free agents, maybe not as much as other teams, but now they find themselves in a situation where, they have to create cap space and they have to kick the can down the road. And that's exactly what teams like the Rams do. And, and nowadays, I mean, I used to be a big proponent of building through the draft, but, the Rams just proved to you that, they could trade away all their first round draft picks and they could kick the can down the road all they want. And they were successful, so, so if kicking the can down the road is what you have to do to hold on to your two best players and Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, then so be it. I'm all for it. I didn't think that way before, but I want a Super Bowl, and if they start rebuilding, I mean, it could be like another 12, 15 years before they even sniff a Super Bowl.
You speak about Aaron Rodgers. So let's say Aaron Rodgers wants to be traded. They agree to move him, okay? Now, there are quite a few teams that are available to make a move. We've been hearing Tennessee is one of those teams. Obviously, he bought a home in Tennessee. Maybe that has something to do with that. Who knows? Okay. The Vegas Raiders, you're hearing Derek Carr could be on his way out to Pittsburgh. Maybe they're trying to make room for Aaron Rodgers. We've heard the Washington. What do they call themselves now?
The Commanders.
The Commanders. They've already made a bid. They've offered a certain amount of draft picks to land Aaron Rodgers. I mean, is there a particular team, if it isn't Green Bay, that you think it fits the best and where Aaron Rodgers more than likely will go if it isn't the Packers?
I think I would have to say that team is the Denver Broncos, just because, they hired the head coach of Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator for Green Bay up until this past season. They hired him to be their head coach, and Hackett and Rodgers have a great relationship. So I can really see the Broncos being that team, and also because, I mean, what are their options? I mean, if they don't trade for Rodgers, where do they go? I mean, do they trade for Jimmy Garoppolo? Does that get you excited if you're a Broncos fan?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. But he's got to get through his legal issues.
Kyler Murray, Derek Carr.
Kyler Murray. You think Kyler Murray is going to be available?
I do. I do.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now in Arizona, and there's different people that we've had on the show, and even some of the things that I have listened or watched or read their stories and stuff like that. He is not happy there right now. Ever since they got eliminated in the first round against having home field advantage, got knocked off by the Rams, and the Rams obviously win the Super Bowl. He's been getting attacked not only by the fans, death threats, and now the team. He's taken every one of the players that followed him on Arizona on Twitter off his friends list. So, I mean, there has to be some kind of truth to what's going on right now in Arizona. And Kingsbury is definitely on the hot seat. And Kingsbury had 2 years with two really good teams. Last year, they were one of the best teams throughout the season, and it fell off in the second half of the season, maybe because of Kyler Murray's injuries. They're not protecting him. I mean, Kyler Murray could be on his way out too. I mean, there's a lot of – how about Kirk Cousins? He could be on his way out from Minnesota as well. There's a lot of good quarterbacks this year more than any offseason where I could see a quarterbacks moving in so many different ways.
Well, I mean, yeah, you bring up Kirk Cousins, and that's definitely an option right there. I mean, he's making a ton of money, and he's entering the last year of his contract. Mm-hmm. So if Minnesota wants to move off of him and get something, this has to be the time. And there's a new coach coming in, so I don't know what, I know O'Connell has worked with him in the past, with the Redskins, the former Redskins, but right. Yeah, that's definitely an option. And then you got Carson Wentz. I know Indy's not enamored with him, so that's another option that they may have where, maybe they make a move for Carson Wentz. But, I mean, all of these names, maybe with the exception of Deshaun Watson, who's a big question mark as far as if he even plays next year, with the exception of Deshaun Watson and maybe a Kyler Murray, all these other options pale in comparison to Aaron Rodgers. But so I see that as the most realistic scenario for number 12 if he indeed gets traded.
So now, can you see a situation? We haven't really heard it as much with the individual swaps, like one quarterback for one quarterback. But can you see the Packers try to maneuver that kind of thing because their roster is still very strong all the way around? Now, you're mentioning they have to probably shed some cap for the most part. We saw Aaron Jones and Kenny Clark restructure their contracts, but can you see a kind of thing where they maybe take on some extra draft picks and maybe still take a legitimate veteran quarterback rather than just jumping right to somebody like Jordan Love? Or do you think it's all because of Jordan Love?
Well, I mean, the one for one trade that I would consider is Aaron Rodgers for Russell Wilson.
Okay.
That I'd be all for. You know, you get the younger player, a player with Super Bowl experience, one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, in Russell Wilson. I would do that in a heartbeat, but I don't know how realistic that is. I mean, you know, if you trade him to Denver, you're getting what, Drew Lock back? That doesn't interest me. You know, under that scenario where you get a veteran quarterback in return. So I think the Seattle trade would be something that I would really consider.
I heard, by the way, we are talking to leader news editor and writer for Pack to the Future and Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini. I heard that Tampa is heavily going after Russell Wilson. That's what I heard. They're willing to trade away a significant amount of draft stock to pull Russell Wilson away from, obviously, the Seattle Seahawks. If that happens, I'm very interested to see what they do with DK Metcalf. And are they going to start to rebuild that team? Pete Carroll is definitely coming back next year, and the GM is definitely coming back. Schneider, I think his name's Schneider, right?
Just like
John
the
Schneider,
Hazard actor we had on the show. Same
Schneider,
thing.
Schneider is definitely coming back. So the rebuilding stages of this team before Pete Carroll decides to retire. I mean, he's the oldest coach right now in the NFL. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but I can't see Aaron Rodgers wanting to go to a certain, I think there's like 2 or 3 cities he wants to go to. I cannot see him wanting to go to Seattle, knowing that he is leaving the Green Bay Packers. It doesn't make any sense to him or why he would do that. He might as well stay in Green Bay. It doesn't make sense. I think he wants to go to a team that is ready to win. Now, I don't think Seattle's ready to win. Their defense is horrible. They have one of the worst defenses in the league. Their offensive line, give me a break. He's going to die. I mean, like, seriously, this is a 38, 39-year-old quarterback that is one of the best quarterbacks of our era, one of the best quarterbacks still in the NFL. If he is the best quarterback in the NFL right now, why would he want to go to Seattle and take a back seat when he's been even with the Packers? To me, I think has a lack of talent offensively, and he just makes that team so much better. I mean, why would he go to one team and not stay where he is? It doesn't make any sense. I can't see him accepting that.
Well, the difference between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers is I think Russell Wilson has a no trade clause, whereas Rodgers doesn't. So, I mean, but you're right about that. I mean, you talk about some other destinations. Tampa Bay would look a lot better for Aaron Rodgers if he's looking to win now, which he is. I mean,
they don't have any secondary wide receivers over there in Tampa anymore. I mean, Chris Godwin's going to be gone, so they're going to be trying to replenish their wide receiving core too. They only have one. They have Evans there, a sure thing. Everybody else, I mean, are you scared of anybody that's there? I mean, Wilson, we saw him there, against the Jets. I mean,
well, what about the Commanders? I mean, maybe that
makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean, they're building a good young defense. And they got some good running backs, and actually McLaurin is really coming on as one of the top receivers in the league.
Tremendous draft stock too. Tremendous draft stock.
So maybe that's a possibility over there, but we're just talking hypotheticals here. I don't think the Packers want to trade him, but I don't know. I mean, stranger things have happened.
So the other end of this Packers free agency and trade talks too is, are they trying to prep for Jordan Love if they do end up going for Aaron Rodgers? Are they trying to shed the way to make him the quarterback? Now, he was inactive in a lot of games this year. Now, you think that's something deliberate that the Packers did, saying, okay, we're rest him where we're not going to get him hit? Say if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, we're not going to expose him right into the fire like that? Or do you think there is actually a concern where a lot of people think, okay, maybe he's not ready yet, and going forward, that could be a problem for them?
Well, as far as Jordan Love goes, he played in that Kansas City game that Rodgers sat out and for COVID reasons. And then he played the second half of the Detroit game, which is the last game of the regular season. And in both instances, Jordan Love did not show really any potential of being that, franchise quarterback that's going to step in and play as the starter for the next 12 to 15 years. Kid's got the size and athletic ability, but, you rush him, you blitz him, he just makes bad decisions. He makes bad throws. It's been 2 years now, you see these quarterbacks that come into the NFL, if they're any good within a year or two, you're going to know it. It's been 2 full seasons now.
Usually the end of second year, third year, you see a difference.
A
huge jump.
I don't think the Packers are ready to give up on him, but let's face it, you don't have a great quarterback class in this upcoming draft. And so if the Packers were willing to take a 3rd round pick for him, I would have to think about it. If I'm going to re-sign Rodgers and I'm going to extend his contract and he's going to retire with the team, then, what am I doing with Jordan Love? How long is he going to wait then at that point? It's not fair to him at that point. So I would start listening to offers.
We are talking to Leader News editor, writer for Pack to the Future and Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini. And Jeff over here on the board says, oh, yeah, Tampa don't have talent. Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, and Cyril Grayson, all 3 guys, without Tom Brady, are nothing to sneeze about. If you think they're 3 big names that are good players, it's ridiculous. Are they anywhere in the realm of Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or even Antonio Brown? Are you kidding me? I love you, Jeff, but bringing up those names doesn't really scare me.
Hey, don't forget Cameron Brate.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, I'm not talking about their tight ends. They have some good talent over there. OJ Howard is good. They have some good talented tight ends, but
he's right though. He probably started on 20 other teams like that. Great.
I'm not talking about. I'm talking about the wide receiving core that they have over there. I don't think they have much to sneeze at. So my question for you is: you look in this offseason, not even with the Packers. We're talking about the quarterbacks. This is probably the best free agency market we have seen in the NFL in the last 5 years. And there are a lot of teams that have a lot of money. The Packers, not one of them, but there are quite a few teams that are a player or 2 players away. They have the money, aka the Baltimore Ravens, who have the most money. They have a good draft stock this year. They're maybe 2-3 players away going into the season this year where they could be a Super Bowl contender. Do you see anybody taking a leap this offseason, bringing in some young talent, obviously in the draft, and superstar free agents that can take them over the hump?
Well, I'm looking at some cap numbers right now, and I see Cincinnati is going to have a lot of money to spend.
Yep, the Jets.
So why wouldn't any free agent want to go to Cincinnati when you have Joe Burrow there for the next 15 years playing quarterback if he stays healthy, of course. But to me, they just came off of, nearly winning a Super Bowl. And so, that's the first place I'd look if I were a free agent. And then you got the Chargers are up there too with a lot of cap money. I think it's
the Chargers won't spend that money.
Yeah, well, but that's a team that could be 1 or 2 pieces away. With the kind of quarterback they have. I know they're playing a tough division, but I don't know. If I'm a skill position player, I would definitely want to play there for sure.
You followed me on Twitter since we had the first interview. I don't know if you've ever seen my tweets. I do call them the least clutch team in football because
and
unfortunately,
I think that's because of their coaching. Even between last year and even this year, they made some bad coaching decisions late in games, and but that's not to take away from their talent level. in terms of, what their roster looks like. And if I'm a free agent receiver tight end, I mean, I would run to the Chargers.
So my question in reference to free agency too is, now you look at the Bengals, the way they rebuilt the defense essentially in 2 years, the guys that never played together. So a lot of times you look at trying to manage the money. The Bengals now have the money too, and they look for quality over quantity, but they can still make that kind of thing work. Do you think teams like the Bengals and even other contending teams like we were mentioning are going to push for more depth as a whole in today's NFL rather than just trying to go for one player and hoping the other pieces can align like that? Because teams are rotating players more often than ever before.
You're right about that. I think that inevitably, though, I mean, you're going to get like the top, let's say 10 to 12 or 10 to 15 free agents. They're going to be some of those guys, or most of those guys are going to get overpaid. Those are the guys that are going to go right off the board. And then there's going to come a little bit of a period where you're going to see a lot of those mid-tier guys, good players, not great players, that could serve as depth. And so, yeah, I could see that happening too. And then the other thing is that, and in 2024, this salary cap is supposed to go up significantly. And so, you even got those teams that kick the can down the road. In 2024, there's going to be a windfall there, and some teams could be thinking that way too. So, but yeah, you're right. I could see some teams doing that, just not getting that one big gem, but getting maybe 5 or 6 really decent players in this free agent class.
Ralph, last question for me, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. Flipping a coin right now. I'm going to give you names. You tell me, are they going to be with the Packers? Are they going to be with respectable teams moving in next year? You ready?
Sure.
All right. Aaron Rodgers, is he with the Packers or with another team?
I say he's either with the Packers or he's going to retire.
Okay, so you're saying Packers are bust.
Yes.
Okay. Russell Wilson, is he with the Seattle Seahawks or another team?
I'm going to say he sticks with Seattle.
Devontae Adams, does he stay with the Packers or he plays for another team?
I think Green Bay is going to find a way to keep him in Green Bay.
Kyler Murray, is he with Arizona or is he playing for another team?
Wow, based on what you told me now, boy, I could see a team like Tampa Bay or Denver maybe making a big offer for him.
Derek,
I'll say he ends up elsewhere.
Derek Carr with Josh McDaniels.
No way. Derek Carr stays put. He's an ascending quarterback, still young.
Okay. Speedy, you have any other players that you have questions for him?
All right, let's do the 2 receivers that are on the trade block too. We already did Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, and DK Metcalf.
Calvin Ridley, I think, is definitely going to end up elsewhere. He doesn't like the organization. I think that's an unfixable situation.
And DK Metcalf, do you see him stay with Seattle or he gets traded?
I think if Russell stays, I think DK stays too.
That's what I think too. Anyways, Mr. Mancini, we really appreciate you joining us. As always, we won't wait this long to get you on again, I promise you. Why don't you tell the fans how they can find you on social media?
Absolutely. So at Reverend Ralph is where you can find me on Twitter. And all I tweet about is football, a lot of Packers stuff, but also a lot of NFL stuff as well. So, guys, if I don't talk to you before the draft, enjoy that. Enjoy free agency. And it was great talking to you both.
Absolutely. Let's hope the Jets have a good offseason. That's for sure.
Yep. Hey, I'm a New York guy, so I'm all for that.
We hope. I mean, so far so good with Zach Wilson in the second half. Let's see it more. Let's see more development in this coming year, and shows us that he is the franchise moving forward. Because Sam Darnold definitely isn't. That's for sure.
Unfortunately, yeah.
No. Ralph, thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Ralph Mancini, Pack to the Future. You can check out his writings, his stories. Very interesting guy, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And knows his Packers, no question that he does. And Nathan says Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper will be traded.
That
that's
seems
a guarantee.
inevitable. That's why I didn't do it. Like the other two, I don't know. Ridley's they're still working in. Metcalf's on a borderline too, kind of like Russell Wilson.
There are stories coming out with the Cowboys, Dallas, that him and Dak don't get along. And if you don't get along with Dak, which what we've heard stories from different people that have followed him around, if you can't get along with Dak, there's something wrong with you.
Okay. I remember Dak was the first of the whole ripple effect too with the wide receivers. Remember when Dak's career first started, that was a weakness for them with Dallas. They always had the running backs. They always were great with the offensive line. They had trouble developing wide receivers consistently. Dez had those great years, a couple of great years, but they never had the number 2 guy, kind of like the Packers with Devontae Adams. And then when Dak first started, Dez actually got worse, but he made Cole Beasley and guys like that better. But then they bring in Amari Cooper. Now then the whole ripple effect. Now it's a big strength of theirs, but now Cooper is gonna probably be traded because of that contract.
I mean, there's a lot of players from the Cowboys that might not be a Cowboy. I mean, they need to get under the salary cap. They need to get under the salary cap as quick as possible. Van Der Esch, who I think could be a casualty, being that he is a free agent. I think he's a restricted free agent this year. Either they franchise him, which they need to franchise. They might have to franchise Gregory. Because they could lose Gregory this offseason, and he had a great season. They might lose Van Der Esch to obviously free agency. I know the Beef doesn't want to admit to it, and he thinks that they have the money to bring him back. Van Der Esch, who made some unbelievable stops during that playoff game that kept the Cowboys in that game in the fourth quarter. This guy is one of the best run-stopping linebackers in the league. Yes, he contends with injuries and all that other stuff. When he's on the field, he's one of the best linebackers in the league. There is no way in hell they're going to be able to bring Van Der Esch back and Gregory. They're going to have to decide one or the other, especially with their salary being that high. And that's why they're trying to trade Amari. And they're still going to be taking a lot of that salary on their cap, because trading him doesn't necessarily this year mean that it's going to come off the cap.
There's 2 other reasons too why I think it seems like it's more likely that he's going to be gone, because if you're going to franchise tag Van Der Esch, you're going to have to give him top 5 linebacker money, which there's a lot of linebackers that just got big contracts too. So that number is going to go up immensely between Fred Warner, between Darius Leonard. I think Eric Kendricks also just got paid from Minnesota. So that's going to average it out a lot more, where that's going to be harder to trust that kind of thing because of his injuries. The other factor is too, the Cowboys have always developed and replaced linebackers well with, I guess, whether it's Jerry Jones or his sons drafting him, or over the years, whatever.
Pretty good one this offseason.
Yeah, they did.
Parsons,
right. And Jabril Cox is another good young one too, that could be a second guy for them as well. And Dan Quinn also finds them too. He found them in Seattle a lot of the time, even a lot of the depth guys. Remember, it's not just Bobby Wagner. I know Bobby Wagner was great, but KJ Wright was also good there. And they had a good rotation of different linebackers that worked there. Then in Atlanta too, the Deion Jones was a 2nd-round pick. Devondre Campbell, who's now a Packer, that Ralph was mentioning earlier, was a 4th-round pick, made it work in that system, that defense. And even that year they had all those injuries, they still were able to fit some guys in their system too. So I don't think one player, considering how many situations the Cowboys have with the cap, is going to fix that kind of thing. When you have a strength already and a coordinator now back in Dallas that knows how to make that kind of thing work with his scheme.
And there's a lot of players that are going to be available this offseason where a lot of teams are going to have to be iffy on making and drawing them back to their teams. I mean, obviously Bates, there's no way Cincinnati, being that they have one of the most money to be available this offseason, where they're going to lose their star safety. I mean, they'd be very stupid to lose Bates.
Especially with their corner deficiency.
Yes, right, especially in their secondary too. I mean, their secondary is the weakness part of their whole defense, which their front 7 was fantastic this year throughout the season, stopping the run and even pass rush in the second.
Hendrickson had an insane sack streak where he had 12 games in a row with a sack.
Didn't he lead the league? Second? No, he was third.
Second.
Is second or third in the league in sacks this year. I mean, he's fantastic. Now, we don't know what Carl Lawson would have done with the Jets because he tore his Achilles, but obviously in the big picture, they made the right decision going with Hendrickson over Carl Lawson. Carl Lawson got hurt. He was out for the season, and Hendrickson had 14, 15 sacks this year and was a dominant force for that defense. So you look at the offseason that the Bengals had and the acquisitions they made, even Eli Apple, bringing him in, it was a big fit for them. And Eli Apple's going to be a free agent this year. And I don't know how much money he's going to get or demand, but there is going to be a team out there that's going to be looking for a second option corner that's going to help out like he did this year. Go throughout the playoffs. He was fantastic. He looked really, even in the Super Bowl, he looked really, really good. Eli Apple's going to get paid. Yeah, I don't know. He's not making like top corner money.
No, he's big. He's bumped around so many different
No, he's
teams.
going to get. You're seeing this kid. He's going to get $28-30 million. That's what he's going to get. He's going to get a 4-year deal worth about $7-8 million a year. He's worth that. I mean, he's a secondary corner. You can use him as your second string corner. And the way he played this year, say whatever you want, Speedy. You say you don't.
He played well in certain playoff games. I'll give him credit on that.
He played well ever since he went to Cincinnati this year. He was fantastic. He's gonna demand money. He's definitely going to demand.
Well, yeah, he's gonna get on the playoff reputation based on that, which you see a lot of front offices do.
Secondary corners, second string corners, and I mean like the second guy on the team. They usually make between $7, $8, $9 million, and for him to get $7 to $8, maybe even $9 million, they're going to sign him to a 3-year deal. You do the math. 3 times 9 is what? 27 million. And that's what he's going to probably get, a ratio around between 25 and 27 million. And he deserves it. He played well this year. So and that's what happens. If you have one good season and you coming off a contract season, there will be a team that's looking for a corner to fill in a spot that can actually fill in that spot.
Well, yeah, we've seen this with a lot of Super Bowl champions. With for example, the Giants in 2007 lost like a big portion of their defense that following season because a lot of these other teams they wanted to bring in the pedigree where they played well down the stretch. They lost both linebackers, or not both linebackers. Kavika Mitchell was a starting linebacker, another backup linebacker, and Jabril Wilson. They lost all these guys just because of the championship pedigree. We see it all the time with the Steelers. We see it all the time with the Packers, as Ralph was mentioning. They usually keep their players and then they don't do well everywhere else type thing. And certain organizations end up being like that constantly, but especially with a Super Bowl champion, a lot of those times they'll get the extra money based on that kind of playoff pedigree. And we might see that kind of thing with the Bengals now too, with the 1-year contracts that they did have. Now they don't have many of them. They have a couple with their offensive line, and they have a couple with some of their backup running backs, but those kinds of things, I think we know they have to address their offensive line anyway. So they're going to try to address that with big money or big draft picks anyway. Running backs, you could probably draft one late, and there's a pass catching guy that could be a backup. They don't really need to worry about that because Mixon's a borderline top 5 running backs. So that kind of thing they can focus on more. And then the corner should probably be their main defensive focus just on that. Especially if they do end up letting Apple go where they don't have the depth, they rely on the depth to make that work, but they still need that number one, whether or not they keep Apple.
You know, what's going to be fun this offseason is in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to see a lot of these guys off the board. You're talking about all these big names. In the next 2 weeks, you're probably going to see all these guys getting pushed to waivers. I mean, they're not going to, you're going to see big names that are still not available on the list that could become available on the list because a lot of these teams are going to be shedding salary. I mean, yeah, they're going to have to eat up some kind of salary to their cap because just because you put them to waivers doesn't mean it's not going to be on, it's going to be on your cap. Being that they're under contract, you're still going to have to take some of that cap and add it to your cap. So I think teams like the Cowboys, they might be shedding. I mean, Amari Cooper, they're going to try to trade him. If they don't, they might just waive him. They might waive him. And then Amari will have his choice on where he wants to play.
Yeah, there was one rumor that said Jacksonville was trying to make a push for him, and they have a lot of draft stock, so they can make that kind of thing work. And again, they were one of the teams that were top 5 in cap too. So if they want to take on a contract, I guess they could try. They still need so many other things, but why not?
I mean, the Jets too, another team that's going to be looking for a number 1 wide receiver. Now, I don't think he's a 1, but he's one of the best route runners in the league. In that offense, he could be a 1.
Right.
I mean, in that offense, because they just need a wide receiver that is a good route runner that can make the catches, But the problem with Amari Cooper that scares me is the injuries. The guy can't stay healthy, and with losing Corey Davis the last 6-7 games of the season. I mean, are the Jets willing to to pay another wide receiver that can't stay healthy? It doesn't make sense, and that's why I think the Jets should look towards the draft and drafting instead of bringing in a free agent or a signed wide receiver.
Yeah, it's probably going to be more likely one of the younger guys for the Jets, just because that's the kind of thing Joe Douglas will embrace more. Denzel Mims is a trade chip that they could use in one of those kinds of scenarios. I mentioned Calvin Ridley as an option on the weekend crunch. You trade Calvin Ridley and maybe a 3rd round pick or something to Atlanta. And if Calvin Ridley
trade Mims,
Yeah,
Calvin
with
Ridley.
Mims. That's what I'm saying. Mims in a 3rd round pick probably gets the job done for Calvin Ridley, and you could prove it, and then Joe Douglas can make the deal because he could get paid after the year where he could adjust it to his standards of what they want to pay. Because Joe Douglas doesn't overpay players, where Amari Cooper was already overpaid, as we know, by the Cowboys, and I don't know if he's going to take that kind of thing on. Jacksonville, we see them do a lot of things like that, where they'll take on those bigger contracts and they'll try to fill the rest out with drafting, with player development, which they've done well in certain stretches, but they haven't been able to keep their players a lot of the time too.
I like Peterson. I think Peterson's going to be a good fit over there with Trevor Lawrence. I think, and it makes a lot of sense on why they brought Peterson. I think Byron Leftwich made a big mistake. I really do, because when is he going to be offered another job? I mean, right now with everything that's happened with Brian Flores, are we going to, are we going to see another African-American coach for a while?
Yeah,
because everything that's going on. It's a shame. It really is a shame.
Unless he knows something with the
Yes.
Buccaneers we don't.
Yes.
With maybe him inheriting that kind
Todd
of thing.
Bowles
if
too.
Arians
I mean, Todd
retires.
Bowles too. He might inherit that job.
Right.
Bruce Arians' best friend, I mean, as far as on the coaching staff, it's Todd Bowles. I mean, Todd Bowles is his best friend. And when Bruce Arians decides to step down, I think he's going to give the reins to Todd Bowles, not Byron Leftwich. And I think it was a bad move by Byron. Byron had Trevor Lawrence, okay? You have a young quarterback, an up-and-coming revolutionary type of quarterback that is going to change the game. Why would you walk away from that because you didn't like the fact of the questions that the owner was asking you or the GM was asking? It's stupid. It doesn't make sense.
The other thing that is to look at too, though, is coaches and GMs are a lot more with each other than in terms of trying to make the moves, more than basing it off of trying to just do money and then you fill out the depth or something like that. We're seeing a lot more in sync. And you wonder if Jacksonville, having Trent Baalke there, who has a lot of these bad reputations with coaches in the past, we saw the 49ers ugly demise that they had with Baalke as the GM there. And maybe he was worried about that kind of thing factoring into maybe a potential coaching job where he might have more control in that regard. We're seeing, especially with the offensive coaches, we're seeing the coaches have a lot more control with a lot of the moves that are being made, as long as you're successful, somewhat successful right away. And we saw, look at the Rams and the 49ers with McVay and Kyle Shanahan. They're having say in terms of the players they bring in. Now, obviously not every coach is going to get to that level right away, but it still is something where it's the future of coaching to have that kind of thing in sync, get more scheme fits and get more player control in what is going to be a player run league more, but also something where coaches have so many schematic advantages with these analytics now.
And also the kickers played a big part of this season, especially later in the season. We've seen what McPherson could do, and really Gay was a big part of the LA Rams and how far they've gotten throughout the season. I expect a lot of these field goal kickers that we haven't heard to be drafted even lower in the drafts, especially. It's so watered out, these kickers. I mean, how many great kickers are in the league?
No, it's a
5,
fluky
6?
position. It's kind of like relief
5 or
pitchers.
6.
Like there's not many of them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
To get a good kicker, I mean, the fact that the Bengals have a good kicker, that's going to benefit them moving forward. I mean, the Patriots had it for years, Vinatieri. Then he went to Indianapolis.
And they had
which helped
Gostkowski.
them. And Gostkowski. I mean, when you have a field goal kicker, you keep it. Those are the guys that are going to get the most points. They're going to score the most points, even more than a quarterback is. You know what I mean? And you're talking about Gostkowski. Like, these are Hall of Fame guys. I mean, Vinatieri. Vinatieri is absolutely Hall of Fame guy. You need to find that kicker that's going to help you in the special teams area. And I think when you look at the big picture, this year's draft class, teams like the Jets and some of these other teams, I'm just naming the Jets because I know the Jets are still looking for a kicker.
Yeah, and there's going to be teams like that for a while because we've also seen kickers join other teams that were great in the past have trouble with those other teams too. Look at Greg Zuerlein with the Cowboys. He was thought of as a top 5 kicker when he was with the Rams.
At one point.
Yeah. Same thing with
Greg the leg.
Great. Same thing with the former Cowboys kicker, Dan Bailey. When he went to the Vikings, he crashed and burned over there. So a lot of these kickers, they don't have the longevity that a lot of them used to. Like even in the past too, like even if they weren't as like big leg or anything like that, they still had some good longevity where you had kickers, or we were saying Vinatieri before, but even somebody like Sebastian Janikowski with the Raiders, like he kicked for a long time.
He was a top first round draft pick.
Yeah, Jason Elam. Who was it last week that mentioned Jason Hansen? It was
Myers.
Yeah.
Proctor. I mean,
right.
There are a lot of good kickers that have been in and out of the league, and you need a good kicker. And I think that is a position that teams are going to have to start looking and playing the factors in, when it comes to the draft, because look what McPherson did. When you look at the big picture and what McPherson did in the playoffs, I mean, 13, 14 straight field goal kicks. Right. I mean, that's going to help your teams absolutely significantly, especially if you can't score touchdowns, or in the Packers way, they couldn't do anything.
Well, yeah, they got one field goal blocked and they got another punt blocked. So yeah, maybe it's more your blocking
and a 1-point
kicks.
conversion missed, so I mean, and they obviously Lazard or whatever his name is, he couldn't catch an open touchdown in the end zone, and that's Aaron Rodgers' fault, by the way. Let's blame him.
The kid also dropped one too, right around there too, so it kind of washed out.
Yeah, it's all Aaron Rodgers' fault that Lazard didn't catch the ball.
No, I'm not the one saying it. That was Trey.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Trey is out of his damn mind. Okay, this is coming from a Packers fan that is absolutely infatuated with Aaron Rodgers, blaming Aaron Rodgers because he was, 20 for 29 in that game. 20 for 29. That means 20 of his 29 passes were completions, and he had a bad game. 225 yards. Okay. He didn't have any touchdowns, but how many people are going to throw touchdowns in a below zero game? And Jimmy Garoppolo, who won the game, had 125 yards in the game. Ridiculous. And he was like 20 for like 35. Okay. Yeah, right. I mean, those numbers are a hell of a lot worse than Aaron Rodgers.
I think he only had one net throw over 10 yards too in that game.
Or 18 for 35 or something.
It was a complete 50%, and most of it was the Kyle Shanahan yards after the catch scheme. I think he had only one net pass of 10 yards. I think it was the one late in the second quarter to Kittle, and that was it. So,
I mean, it was horrible.
Not really a Jimmy Garoppolo either.
Yeah, well, tell that to Tyler, who is absolutely infatuated with the man. But I mean, and hates Aaron Rodgers. Wants to throw Aaron Rodgers on the bus just as much as he hates Aaron Boone. But it's just a whole nother story.
So maybe he just has a vendetta against Aaron's.
Maybe it is. And he also can't stand Aaron Judge. He wants to trade Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe he doesn't like the name Aaron, but.
Maybe he had a grudge. Maybe we have to figure out every Aaron that exists in sports and figure out what Tyler thinks of him.
No, let's not and say we did. But anyways, I think it's very interesting going into the offseason and what could happen, especially even for the New York teams that are open. I expect to see a little bit more changes for the Patriots. What are the Patriots going to do with J.C. Jackson? They overspent in the offseason last year. Do they overspend for the best corner in football?
I don't think so. It seems like from what J.C. Jackson's saying, they haven't talked to him yet at all. So it seems like they're going to go back to their classic approach. Maybe they realized, maybe this kind of system isn't going to work, and they're going to go back to home growing again, because the Patriots replaced the defensive backs very well, historically speaking.
Yeah, well, that's because that's Bill Belichick's specialty is the secondary, but you don't get rid of the best corner who's in the prime of his career. I mean, he's like 26 years old. Just going to let him go. I mean, I think that's a stupid move by the Patriots. I really do. But
it very much could be. You just wonder what else they could be freeing up for at this point too, because of the other big contracts that they gave out, the bad receiver contracts that they gave out. The tight ends did fine, but again, it still wasn't like they were electric like they were like the other young tight ends that did well this year. Hunter Henry had a nice year and actually was durable this year, but still, can you trust that kind of thing going forward? Now the Patriots, the rest of the skill players, they have enough running back depth. I wouldn't be worried about that. Their offensive line, maybe they could get a piece here and a piece there, but it's fine. It's serviceable, where I think they could trust that they were just more decimated with injuries. And I think 1 week they had like 3 guys were out with COVID or something like that one week. So I think talent wise, they're okay there. So if they do get rid of Jackson, maybe they have an idea in mind, especially with the receiving depth available, either with the trade or with free agency. I know Jeff was on the phone a couple shows ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And when we were talking about Calvin Ridley, he was sensing a Calvin Ridley rumor to the Patriots. Maybe that's an option that they could consider.
Well, they need a number one.
Yeah.
They don't have one. I mean, Calvin Ridley is absolutely a great talent. I mean, he has his problems on and off the field, but when he does play. I mean, he's been an all-pro wide receiver in this league. I mean, he's fantastic. He really is, and he could be a number one on any other team. Right. I mean, it just the problem with Calvin is his head in the game.
Right.
That's the question. I don't know if it is.
Yeah, maybe it's not. You never know what anyone's going through at any particular time to be able to judge that kind of thing, and that is what's going to make it difficult for a team to, I guess, push harder in terms of getting on a bidding war. But he's still a young enough and talented enough receiver, and right now he's controllable on a so far right now rookie contract, and we'll see how he plays in terms of that new scheme, because obviously switching coaches with Atlanta too might have not helped either with that whole team culture going all at once. I think he was pretty comfortable with the first 3 years, and they made front office changes too. I mean, they switched around all the offensive coordinators since Kyle Shanahan went to San Francisco, but they still had stability pretty much everywhere else. And maybe he just didn't like it after that. Or again, maybe there is something personal in his life that, again, he's not going to want to reveal, because again, it could be tough on him and you don't know what they're going through.
No, you don't. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our show. I will say this. I want to give a shout out to Tyler Harrison. I really appreciate Tyler for the time that he gave us on the show. I know it was very, very hard to step down for being with us and working with us. But, you know, this is a tremendous opportunity. I really do believe for him. And unfortunately, he just, I don't think he can handle it. And I understand. I wish nothing but my love and respect for Tyler Harrison. I hope everything works out for him.
Absolutely.
For whatever he does moving forward. We really appreciate the little bit of time that you did give us when you put the time in. Hopefully your girlfriend or whatever is going on with you, it works out for you and moving forward. So
Tyler, whatever ends up happening in your life, your career going forward, I'll always support you in every way. Personally, whatever you end up doing and any pursuits that you end up having, we support you as a person and who you are.
Absolutely. And again, Tyler Harrison is going to be no longer with us moving forward. He is moving on in his venture, career, or whatever the heck he's doing. But like I said, good luck to him, and hopefully everything works out for whatever he decides to do. I'd like to thank ESPN talent producer Katie Hennessy for joining us. She was fantastic. We really appreciate you. And also leader, news editor, writer for Pack to the Future and Packers Talk, Ralph Mancini, for joining us. He was fantastic as well. Two really, really good guests, and hopefully they join us very, very soon again. Speedy, we have anything next week yet?
We have our sports etiquette, thanks to the agent Barry that also got us John Schneider. Zoe, a sports etiquette agent, sports etiquette producer,
talent evaluator,
actress, and talent evaluator. She has a website, the OGEtiquetteExpert.com. We're going to have her on the show. Zoe Yeoman is her last name. We haven't scheduled a day or time yet, but she will be on the show sometime next week. That is all we have planned at the moment, but there will definitely be more coming.
And maybe Jimmy Smith, finally.
Maybe.
I mean, Jimmy has been, 2 thumbs up saying that he's going to join us, and then, take a step back.
Maybe I should schedule him for Friday, and then he'll come on Thursday.
You just need to call him in the morning and make sure, or reach out to him in the morning so he knows to come on, so we can get him. But again, thank you for a great week of guests, Speedy, all the work that you put into it, and all the fans that listen to us and stay tuned and put the time and effort into listening to us. We plan to keep working and putting on the best product and giving you guys the best product we possibly can moving forward. So thank you. Listen to the Weekend Crunch Saturday. What time we on?
Normal time.
7 p.m. So listen to the Weekend Crunch. If you're not here on Long Island and you don't have the FM dial, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio, LI News Radio. So you can find us 7 p.m. We'll talk all sports throughout the show, and we have a great show. We're going to have our what do we
Moneyline Mania.
Moneyline Mania guests. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll be back next week. Until then, this is Errol Marks, Speedy Petey saying good night, and we'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.